October 23rd, 2024. The time is now 7:05. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Vice Mayor Irvin. Here. Commissioner Kelly.
Present.
Mayor Taylor.
Here. All right, as we stand for the invocation led by our Assistant City Manager.
Let's bow our heads. Father God, we glorify you today, Lord God. We thank you, Lord God, for giving us another opportunity, Lord God, to serve this great city. We pray for every resident, for every citizen, Lord God. We pray for our commissioners. We pray for our mayor. We pray for every staff member, Lord God. We pray, Father God, that you continue, Lord God, to be in the midst of everything we do. And we thank you and we honor you on this day. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
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 I pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we do have a special presentation by Commissioner Bass, and I think she's going to be appearing virtually, Madam Clerk.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, Commissioner Bass should be on virtually.
All right, Dr. Bass, you have the floor.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. I just wanted to take the time out to say a special thank you to all of our vendors who came out and volunteered their time and their services in order for us to have a successful community baby shower. Our third one, you all are so appreciated. I thank you all so very, very much for being there. And again, know that you are appreciated. Again, I'm sorry that I'm not there to meet you all in person, to give you a hug and a kiss. I am so grateful to have all of you being a part of my life, and not just my life, a part of the city of Opa-locka's life. With all that being said, I will see you all again next year. You are appreciated.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Bass.
You're
Mr. Mayor.
welcome.
So as part of the special award presentation, we do have certificates on behalf of Commissioner Bass. Mr. Mesa will present them. If the mayor and commission can join,
Are the students here?
it's volunteers and sponsors.
Oh, volunteers. Okay.
Yeah, it's not students.
I thought it was the 5,000 role models thing that she was, okay. Okay, these certificates say the city of Opa-locka, the city of bright opportunities, certificate of appreciation. This certificate is awarded to the Employee Relations Group. Thank you for your dedication and contribution to the city of Opa-locka Community Baby Shower, September 21st, 2024, signed by our Commissioner, Dr. Shirlene Bass. Thank you. This certificate of appreciation is awarded to Earthly Dola. Okay. Y'all can clap. They not the Deltas, because you know she's a little biased over here. But this goes to the Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. Okay. HNZ chapter. This certificate of appreciation goes to Health Start Coalition of Miami-Dade. Thank you very much. This certificate is the Early Learning Coalition of Miami-Dade, the Children's Trust. This certificate is North Park High School.
This certificate is for Sisters Incorporated.
And the sisters are.
All right, sisters.
Sisters are here. They here.
Y'all wanna come on this side?
And the mama of the sisters back there too, Miss Veronica.
Oh, she gonna come. It's my namesake. Empress Tax Service.
Yeah.
Woo. Okay. Super Cool Sammy World LLC.
Yeah.
We have the Lou Foundation. We have Jay Savoy. Jay Savoy? Jackie. Jay Savoy. We have Sleep and Cradle. Our fave, Photo Booth King. Yeah. Okay,
Hold on, everybody get in.
so we're gonna take a quick picture. Y'all want me to in the back?
Let's get tight.
Okay, Colin, her packet. Colin, her packet.
A round of applause. So again, shout out to everyone that made the community baby shower a great success. And it's a running joke up here because we said that Bass has been pregnant every year for 3 years. Because when she first did this, we thought it was her baby shower, but it wasn't hers. But we thank Bass for thinking and remembering our community, those that are in need during this time. We have one more presentation from our Parks and Rec. Madam Manager, if you're okay with that. From our Director, Ms. Zanya Ray, our Parks and Rec.
The homecoming king and queen. Steven. With the, oh. They're so cute.
Good evening. We finna present to you all our 2024 Opa-locka Hurricane Royal Court for Parks and Rec.
Oh, that's cute.
A lot of these babies new, so I don't know their names.
But they look so cute. They look so cute. Yeah, go ahead.
These are our kings and queens from our little princesses all the way up to our 12 youth football and cheer program. The Mr. and Mrs. Opa-locka homecoming is not here. Of course. But as y'all know, in Parks and Recreation, it plays a major role inside of our community. It starts in parks. If we don't have anything for our young people as well as our elderly, where would they go if we don't have anything at the parks? I've been here 36 years as of next month, and I am a prodigal daughter of this awesome and great city of Opa-locka. I have done it all. So y'all represent me as I represent you all. I love y'all from the moon and back. Y'all are my heart and my soul. Thank you.
Thank you. So shout out again to who? You know another one? Shout out again to our Parks and Rec Royal Court. And I want us to give a special thanks and a shout out to our Parks and Rec staff, because they babysit our kids when we don't want to. So when we tie them, we drop them right off to Shabundi, Ingram, and or Helen Miller. So shout out to our parks and our volunteers. All right. We're moving on to the approval of the consent agenda. Do I have any deferrals, deletions, or pulls at this time?
Mr. Mayor,
Vice Mayor?
I'm gonna delete 16-2.
16-2.
Yeah.
Indefinitely, or is it a date certain, or what are you doing? Or are you
I
gonna
think we're
table it
good.
for now?
Yeah, I think we're good for now.
Okay. All right, so,
Mr. Mayor,
Commissioner Kelly?
yes, I want to pull 2 and 5.
Okay. So I have, anyone else?
Mr. Mayor, I would like to withdraw agenda item 15A1.
Okay. Vice Mayor, let me get clarity on yours. Are you withdrawing, deferring, or, because we said two different things? You withdraw?
Yes, please.
All right. We could delete. Um. 16, I go backwards. So 16A2 is withdrawn. 15A1 is withdrawn. Under the consent agenda, item 13.2 was pulled and item 13.5 was pulled. Is that right? All right.
Mr. Mayor?
Madam Clerk?
Yes, just for the record, item 13.3, there's additional backup information that was provided. Towards the top, you'll see the documents has EXP on it, and that's to be incorporated as part of that agenda item. It's 13.3.
13.3. So Madam Attorney, do we need to pull 13.3 to be, so that can be read in the record?
I'm not familiar with it. I will pull it. Yes, sir.
Okay, so I'll pull 13.3. All right, so we have 13.2, 13.3, and 13.5. On the public hearing, item 15A1 was withdrawn, and under first readings of our ordinance, item 16A2 was withdrawn. All right, can I get a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda?
Move it.
Moved by
Second,
Commissioner Williams, second by Commissioner Kelly. Madam Clerk?
Vice Mayor Irvin,
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly,
yes.
Commissioner Williams.
Yes.
Mayor Taylor.
Yes.
Motion passes
Right.
4-0.
Can I get a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
Move it.
Moved by Vice Mayor,
Second.
second by Commissioner Williams. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Kelly,
Yes.
Commissioner Williams.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Irvin.
Yes.
Mayor Taylor.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
All right, I'm gonna read all of the minutes into record, and then we'll take one motion and one vote to approve all. And if any nays, you just let me know. So approval of the minutes, regular commission meeting minutes, September 11, 2024. Second budget hearing minutes, September 25th, 2024. Regular commission meeting minutes, September 25th, 2024. Can I get a motion to approve it as is?
Move it.
Moved by Vice Mayor, second by Commissioner Williams. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Williams?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Irvin?
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly?
Yes.
Mayor Taylor?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
All right, do we have any District 1, District 2, or state reports at this moment?
No, Mr. Mayor.
All right, we're going into our public presentations. Our first public presentation is Congresswoman Frederica Wilson. I know it was stated that she needed time at 8 o'clock. Are we still doing that?
No, unfortunately, Mr. Mayor, we did receive an email from Ms. Postel from Congresswoman Wilson's office. She's not able to make it tonight, and she will provide a new time and date for the future.
Okay, no problem. All right, so the second item is Gil Zepeda, Development Management, Susan G. Coleman, South Florida, our breast cancer awareness. Mrs. Zepeda, you have the floor. He's appearing virtually, right?
That is correct,
You
Mayor.
have the floor.
Good evening, everyone. Mr. Mayor, Ms. Vice Mayor, and the Commissioners of Opa-locka, thank you very much for having me this evening. I appreciate you taking the time and making the time for me to come in and be able to present to you all today. Susan G. Komen is an organization that since the 1980s, since 1982, has been committed to fighting breast cancer in our communities. 4 decades later and about $3 billion into research and into patient care, we are still the leading organization as far as fighting breast cancer is concerned. And so we love to do whatever we can to not only fight breast cancer from the research side, being the second biggest investor into research for breast cancer in order to find a cure. We also focus on investing into our communities and making sure we're raising awareness in order to save lives today. And something that we have recently been focusing on is not only the fact that research will show that the state of Florida is 25th in the country in testing and early detection, but also when it comes to Hispanic women, they're only testing at about 45%, and Black women are only testing about 55%, making both these communities susceptible to breast cancer. And so what Susan G. Komen would love to do is work with our cities, with our municipalities here in South Florida, in order to raise as much awareness as we can within our communities, in order to let folks know how important it is for women to be tested early and for women to be detected early when it comes to breast cancer. The more and more we do that, the more lives we're going to save. And that's something that Susan G. Komen would love to focus on in the next few years when it comes to South Florida. In addition to providing awareness, we do provide also a bilingual hotline, which is 1-877-GO-KOMEN for our communities. This hotline allows for anyone, not only women, for anyone at all who needs advice regarding breast cancer. May it be before their diagnosis, once they've been diagnosed, or if they are going through patient care, this hotline is available to them in our community for them to call and not only get advice, but be able to get great resources in their communities in order to help them. In addition to that, Susan G. Komen also provides for those that are within underserved communities a stipend, which allows those that are going through breast cancer and maybe patients at the time who may be needing extra financial support to be able to get a stipend from Susan G. Komen in order to help them out. This stipend allows women to be able to buy groceries or pay for a bill, or to be able to just easily go through life as they are going through treatment. And so not only do we have these resources available to the citizens of Opa-locka should they be going through something like this, but also what Susan G. Komen would love to do is be able to focus on raising awareness within the city of Opa-locka in the next few years in order for folks to know where they can be tested and how often they should get tested. A lot of folks seem to think that this is a disease that affects only older women. And we are finding more and more so that this disease, unfortunately, is being diagnosed more and more so of women within their 20s and after the age of 30. And so we want to be able to ring that flag, ring that bell, and raise that red flag to the community and be able to let them know how important it is for them to go out and get tested. I will be attending an event on Tuesday in the city of Opa-locka in order to do what we can to let folks know about the resources that are available to them. But I would love to not only work with the mayor's office, but also with the many commissioners from the city of Opa-locka in order to bring awareness throughout the year. And of course, during National Breast Cancer Awareness Month, which we are in right now in October. I would love to send a huge thank you to all of you who supported us and to send great messages to us in support our walk this past Saturday at Amelia Earhart Park in Hialeah. We were able to raise over $500,000 to fight breast cancer, and so we are very happy that went on in Hialeah. And so we hope that next year, you not only the city of Opa-locka can join us with a team, but also join us as someone who can support the event, so that we can have those ties within the community, and we can let folks know how important it is for them to be tested, and for them to see their doctor regarding breast cancer. I thank you all, not only for his time, as you can imagine, to us, it is a passion to let as many folks know within our community how important this is, but it does allow us to have a more of a connection when the municipalities are able to open us up and invite us to events. And so I thank you all for doing that, not only today, but also next week on Tuesday when I will be attending that event in the city of Opa-locka.
Thank you, Mr. Zepeda, and thank you for answering the call and doing what you do for this issue. And we all want to say that that's why we asked him to make this presentation so we can bring awareness to breast cancer, being that October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And if you see the commission, we have on our pink, and we got our bracelets that we all have that Joanna forced us to wear.
I also saw the Rubel's dress, Mr. Mayor, and I really appreciate that.
But we support it because I know most of us, if not all of us, have had people in our family affected by this disease. And we want to continue to keep the families affected by that in prayer. And we also have an information table to, well, my right, your left, in the back of the chamber, where we have goodies for you all and information that you all can take, those of you that are in the chambers, with you, so that you know that Opa-locka stands. We stand with you all. So we're gonna move on. If no other questions or concerns from
Mr. Mayor,
Commissioner Williams.
I just wanted to thank Mr. Zepeda for not only being on the Zoom, he will be here in the city of Opa-locka Tuesday for the resource fair that we will talk about a little bit later. But I want to thank him for being here, and I also want to make sure that when we talk about, breast cancer, it's not just a woman, it's men too. And so we want to ensure that females, males, we're all aware. It's not just wearing pink for a month, even though it's not my best color, but it is, and you all look beautiful, by the way, in pink. But it is not just wearing pink, but it is about doing the work. And so we know we have lost a lot of people, and people we know, people we don't know, people that are impacted and affected, and we continue to pray and ensure that we, City of Opa-locka, stand near and dear with everyone this month. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Williams. All right, we're getting ready to move on to our next presentation, which will be Mr. Joe Williams, the Senior Manager of Raft-Tillis, and he's going to talk about our utility rate study. Ms. Austin, give me point of privilege. Let's because yours is a little more extensive. So I want to give way for the Circle of Brotherhood to come up with their presentation first, and then we'll bring up Mr. Joe for that one, because that one's gonna take a lot. So we're gonna call up Mr. Brother Lal Muhammad, the Executive Director for the Circle of Brotherhood.
First of all, good evening.
Good evening.
Peace and blessings to our beloved officials, and peace and blessings to our citizens. It's an honor to be here in the city of Opa-locka. It's an honor to officially introduce the Circle of Brotherhood to the city of Opa-locka, although we're no strangers in our work and what we do. Our specific message tonight, it deals with gun violence. Gun violence. And I pause always for a moment, because in this planet that we live on, in this city that we live in, as I look around the room and even on the Diaz, I have no idea of knowing the effects that gun violence has played on your personal lives. So I offer first a personal prayer for anyone who's dealing with loss and trauma. And I offer a personal prayer for the healing of our community, first and foremost. But how dare we come before you and pray for a healing and not bring a solution to you? We wouldn't do that. On June 25th of this year, the Surgeon General of the United States officially declared gun violence as a public health epidemic. June 25th, 2024. Now, I know some are saying we already knew that, but there's something to be said when an official declaration comes from the highest public health office in the land, and there's no political movement. I want to applaud you all. What we sent to you was a copy of the Surgeon General's declaration, and we also sent to you a capstone presentation that your brother put together for the University of Chicago, because we are, by his grace, considered to be a specialist in this area because of the work that we do here in Miami and Miami-Dade, and prayerfully, specifically in the city of Opa-locka. And so what we sent to you, we sent to every single seated commissioner from South Dade going all the way up to Miami Gardens. We sent to every seated mayor. You all are the first to respond. And that says something. Particularly when people always want to bring to light internal struggles that this beautiful city may be having to continue to move forward. I wanted to bring to light the fact that you all were the first ones to respond. And so why do I share that with you? I don't know how familiar you are with the work of the Circle of Brotherhood. But our work in terms of having an impact on gun violence, an impact on mentoring our young boys and our young girls, an impact on making our communities a safe and a decent place to live, has catapulted us from the outhouse to the White House. I've literally been to the White House about 5 times just in the last year and a half, provided on another 3 occasions congressional testimony because of the work that we're doing right here in our own backyard. And so I will close this portion by saying that there are 3 things standing in the way of us making Opa-locka a decent place to live, free, virtually free of gun violence. Now, 2 of those things are on leadership. One of those things is on the community. Leadership, our community, because gun violence is being treated like a political football, because programs starting and stopping and stopping and starting, they have become completely numb and apathetic toward the reality of living in a community without gun violence. When a community becomes completely apathetic, that's below 0. That means there's no hope. So I wanted to mention that. We can help. But in terms of leadership, there's 2 crucial factors. One is ignorance, and the other is arrogance. And I don't use the word ignorance in a negative way here. No more so than when there was a COVID outbreak would we expect you as commissioners to be leading experts on COVID. But we would expect you to find those leading experts who can help make our community a decent and safe place to live. So nor do we expect you to be the experts on how to prevent gun violence. but we are obligated to show you what's right here in your backyard. And we're also obligated to show you, not just by word, but by testimony of men and women who do this work full time. So we now have a staff of 40 individuals that work full time on violence intervention and prevention work in many places where other people won't go. Many places where other people can't go. We also have extensive trainings with our police departments. Act like police and community relations is not an issue today. So the documents that you have are not necessarily for you to become the expert on, but if you have someone on your staff that you consider to be your gun violence guru, your gun violence expert, please give them those documents. I humbly stand before you today as the executive director of the Circle of Brotherhood in your own backyard, considered to be one of the top 5 gun violence intervention programs in the entire United States of America. But it's sad if we can't work in our own community. It's sad that there's going to be a news story tonight. And so I want to pause there to do 2 things. If there's any particular questions, and then there's some members of our organization who actually do this work, you know, just to provide some insight on what our work looks like from A to Z. And just so you know, we offer a complete community wellness and violence intervention and prevention program. That which you have before you is the same plan we brought before the County of Miami-Dade in 2018 after a quadruple shooting, and it's the same one that's being touted right now by the Department of Justice and the White House as a #1 initiative. And so I'll pause there if there's any questions, and then I'll allow those who do this work on the ground to give some testimony.
Go ahead and finish your presentation. Go ahead.
So any of the workers who work on our community-based violence intervention work come forward at this time, please?
Mr. Mayor. Name and address. for the record,
Reentry,
please.
peacemakers, youth success coaches, public housing advocates. Come on forward. Justice advocate. Our justice advocate, members of the Circle of Brotherhood, members of the Circle of Brotherhood that live in the city of Opa-locka.
Mr. Lau, the only thing I'm gonna ask, 'cause we got a long.
Oh, no. We're not bringing everybody
Okay.
forward to speak. So we wouldn't do that to you,
I'm like,
Denver.
Jesus Christ, you give
No, no.
like one person to speak.
No, we wouldn't do that to you, you know. I just wanted you to have a picture
Okay.
that we have a holistic approach to this work that we do. And so it's up to you to really study before you, because we will never put anything on paper that we will not bring to flesh. And so when you look at this array of individuals, how are you going to stop the violence if you don't have peacemakers? My peacemakers, raise your hand. These are brothers and sisters who get between the guns, who do the mediation, who go where the conflicts are, and they go in a community without guns. We actually hire residents from the community to perform those roles. We've helped to build a whole new industry of individuals that nobody else will hire because they don't understand the value of lived service. Now people who have valued life experience can find a full-time job righting some of those wrongs. Reentry coaches that go inside of the prisons, because we know those men and women are coming back home to our communities. And if you wait for our men and women to come back home, then that means they have not been properly prepared. They're behind the walls every day. And so when you look at these men that volunteer to do so much community service, we must have resources to do full-time community intervention and prevention work. If anybody wants to learn more information about our work, www.circleofbrotherhoodmiami.org. Instagram, Facebook, but you can always catch us in the hood because that's where we belong, boots on the ground. We've had many conversations. Hopefully we can implement some things so that Opa-locka can look a whole lot different when it comes to gun violence. And my last thing is this. our work has become so successful that we're about to become the first community-based violence intervention organization to take full and complete security and public safety control of a public housing complex. I won't tell you which one it is right now, because we're still tying some knots together. But they said they didn't want to do security. They said they didn't want the police to be the main objective. And they looked at the work that we're doing. And so we have plenty of initiatives and plenty of examples. So help us save lives, family, all right? Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Any questions?
Well, Commissioner Kelly, then Commissioner Williams.
Well, first of all, we know who you are before our record, name and address for the record, address for your organization, name and address for the record. You can say that, and then I just have a point I want to make.
Gotcha.
Because that's part of our policy.
Circle of Brotherhood. Right now, 5120 Northwest 24th Avenue, Miami, Florida.
Thank you. I just want that for the record, it's part of the record. I want to obviously commend you. I've followed you all for years and some of the work that you do. Mr. Mayor, I don't know how you want to approach this, but I would suggest obviously through the manager's office to coordinate something, a meeting or going forward. I know I just had a chance to glance at it, but if they could meet with them. But I'd also like, I know you may have someone in the police department that you want to have, but I also would like to encourage that from a community standpoint, really saying to my colleagues, that you would make sure Mr. Felton Brown is a part of that, since he lives right here in the city. So to make sure he's a part of that meeting or conversation, because he is already a part of us, along with the work that you do countywide. So I just want to make that suggestion. If we need to come back and put any kind of legislative form to do it, I'll do it at the time, but I wanted to make that suggestion to my colleagues, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you all. Well, what Commissioner Kelly said, it was right at my what he said, because I was going to say, and I think Commissioner Williams, and then.
I'm gonna be quick.
Go ahead.
I'll be quick. And then what he said also. I just want to thank you all so much for being here, for taking the time. This is, and when you said earlier, the impact, I can tell you that when I lost the first student that when I was at Miami Jackson at the time, someone that was amazingly close to me, and to walk out and knowing that over the weekend he was murdered, and it still impacts me. And unfortunately now at Miami Northwestern, it's an occurrence. We have to figure out how to stop the numbness, because right now our children are numb. And I'm not just saying in schools, but I mean even in our communities. And I think that if we can, and I would gladly, as a non-commissioner, continue to work with you all to figure out how we can work with the youth. And I think that's the part that we need to continue to tap into. You saw our beautiful children here, right? Ms. Ray, our parks, that's another form of tapping into having those workshops. I want to personally thank Mr. Darrell Thomas, who calls me when there are issues with some of the kids that he mentor at my job, and it will have me intervene. And so that's the key. That's the key, is working with schools, working with communities, working with everyone to make sure that those things matter. And I would love to continue this dialogue to figure out how we can make this work in the great city of Opa-locka. I do want to shout out Mr. Leroy Jones. I was with him at the ground floor when it was only 5 members of the Circle of Brothers. And I called him to help me do some canvassing in Liberty Square at the time, the Polka Beans. So, and it was just 5 of y'all. Now it's amazing what I see. So thank you so much what you're doing. But again, let's continue this dialogue and let's make it happen.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right. So, and Commissioner Kelly already said it, but I was going to say it. I want to shout out Felt. As he's been trying to, I'm glad that we were finally able to bring you all to the city of Opa-locka, because before you all inducted him into the Circle of Brotherhood, since last year, he's been saying this is something that we need in our community. And oh my God, your name escapes me. Mr. Keith, thank you. These two are Opa-locka. They are Opa-locka. So the fact that you have Opa-locka in your organization, shout out to you. And we're gonna make sure that this happens in the city of Opa-locka because it's needed. You've been trying to do this for a while. So I want you to, before you leave, Mr. Lau, get our chief's information. And like Commissioner Kelly said, that way we can have individual meetings with you and we can figure out how we can put this together. So thank you for making this happen for us.
Thank you all.
Mr.
Thank
Keith.
you, family.
Thank you, Mr. Lau.
That's my neighbor, by the way. That's my neighbor.
All right, moving right along to our. Mr. Joe Williams, Senior Manager of Raft Tillers, our utility rate study.
Good evening, Area Austin, Public Works Director. Mr. Mayor and Commission, we wanted to bring this item forward. Earlier this year, we commissioned a study for the rate study for all of our utilities. Currently, our rate has been held at the 2015 levels, and we thought it necessary that we move this forward to have a study so we could make changes to our system. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. Joe Williams with Raftelis, and our office address is 341 North Maitland Avenue in Maitland, Florida, Orlando, Central Florida area. I know that this is probably the first time you all have seen a lot of the information that's in front of you, and hopefully we can get the presentation up on the screen as well. So that we can kind of go through it together a little bit. And I'm going to try to stay higher level for you all tonight, realizing that you do have a long agenda and it's probably the first time you're seeing it. So you're going to want to have a little bit of time to see it and digest the information. There's not going to be anything in front of you tonight to vote on. So this is informational, and we will be following up in the coming meetings with a ordinance resolution for you to look at taking further action.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask, if you don't mind, Mr. Williams, because you're right, we haven't seen it before. If you can give us the condensed version, and then what we'll do, we'll set up individual meetings with every commissioner, because I know a lot of us have, I know I got questions.
Yeah.
And I know the Commissioner Kelly, who's been rooting for this, has a lot of questions.
Understood.
So
understood. Yeah, and there are 30 slides or so. We're planning on trying to do it in about 10 or 15 minutes. So it's going to be the higher level version. I see. Yeah, understood. And I don't have a clicker, so I think I have to kind of request the next slide to go. See, it went down here. Okay. So again, brief agenda. We'll go to the next slide. We're looking at water, wastewater, stormwater, enterprises. So in high level, you have these set up as enterprise funds. And setting up enterprise funds, the intent is that there's revenues coming in from user fees to pay for these services and operating these as businesses. Water, wastewater, and stormwater enterprises are very capital intensive. So you need a lot of funding to do capital improvements over time. And we're coming to you with a 5-year forecast on what the impacts of the current user rates look like for water, wastewater, and stormwater services. Next slide, please. We'll skip ahead a couple here. So really what we do is we take your operating budget that you do every year, and historical information, and we develop a 5-year forecast using that information. As Aria mentioned, you've had your existing rates for water and sewer service in place since 2015. A lot has changed since 2015. There's been increases to your wholesale costs from Miami-Dade. So you purchase water, treated water, and then you send wastewater back to Miami-Dade for treatment. So they pull the water out of the ground, treat it, send it to you. And then when everyone flushes their toilets, uses the water for showers, it goes back to Miami-Dade for treatment. So you have a contract, you have a relationship with them. They've been increasing rates over time, and you've held your rates consistent over time. That's really the key, the major component of what's happening behind the scenes. Next slide, please. So looking at a few years of historical activity for the water and sewer department, really you can look at the bottom line and surplus deficit. So when you take all your revenues available, subtracted all the different expenses of operating the water and sewer utility, you're running a negative operating balance right now. You're bringing in less money than you're spending. So that's a situation going forward that we're going to try to, we're recommending you take some action to start correcting that. That's the high level. Next slide, please. We also break it down between water and sewer individually, even though they're a combined enterprise system. So on the chart in front of you, the red line is the revenues that are coming in every year, and the bars stacking up are the different expenses. So for the water system, you can see that you're running a slight positive operating balance. Next slide is wastewater, and you'll see that the red line for revenues is significantly below the expenses. So the expenses make up your staffing, any operating costs that you have, those costs that Miami-Dade charges you for treatment, and then ongoing debt service that you have, a large part of that being with Miami-Dade. So sewer is where we're going to be recommending some larger rate adjustments for you to consider as time goes on. Next slide. Again, information, you purchase water from Miami-Dade. Second to bottom line there, you're spending about $1.3 to $1.5 million a year in just purchasing treated water. On the water system, you don't have a big issue. Pretty much all the water you buy from them, you're selling to customers. There's not a lot of water that's being lost through the lines or meters. It's pretty solid. On the next slide, we'll talk a little bit about sewer. So something that happens in sewer is called I&I, inflow and infiltration. I understand that some of the lines throughout the city are very old, and there's different things that happen with infrastructure over time, whereas groundwater, as it rains, groundwater levels rise. And if you have an old system, that water can go into your sewer pipes. And then when the water infiltrates your sewer system, it goes back to Miami-Dade, they measure it, and they charge you for that water. So it's not even water that's actually being used by your customers, it's just your system is allowing that water in one way or another, and then you're paying for it. So that you can see on the bottom line here, the quote unquote added cost is what we're considering inflow and infiltration above more kind of a industry standard level. So it's costing you, in the range of $750,000 to $1 million a year in some cases. The fix to that is not cheap. It takes a lot of capital investment on putting new lines in the ground, doing improvements to the lines to make them not allow as much water in. But by doing those improvements, you can save on operating costs over time. So that's one of the key issues on why we're recommending that you increase rates over time to generate funding to do capital improvements to then help the sewer system reduce operating expenses. So it's kind of a game where you have to have the money, spend the money on capital first, and then you can recognize the operating savings over time. Next slide, please. A bill comparison. A lot of the communities in Miami-Dade County are served by Miami-Dade. So we did branch out the comparison into Broward County as well, a little bit further north. There's a lot more individual cities that have their own water systems. So typical consumption, 4,000 gallons a month. This would be kind of normal indoor usage, not irrigating a lawn, things like that. You can see that you guys are right there on par with Miami-Dade at about $40 a month. And most of your neighbors are $60 or $70 a month or more. So that's about 50 or 75% higher than your bills right now. I will say, just from doing this type of work throughout the state, Miami-Dade has always been an outlier on the low end with their utility rates. So again, you've had your rates in place since 2015, and you'll see where we're recommending you go over time. And I understand there's gonna be further discussions. Happy to get into the details a little bit more one-on-one basis. Next slide, please. And the next one. So a little bit of background. We take your operating budget that you just approved, and we look at historical activity, forecast it. We forecast what is likely to happen with Miami-Dade over the next several years, their costs that you're paying for. And then there's several other, details that, again, we can get into more details later on. But the last one that we'll note is that your existing reserves based on activity over the past few years appear to be negative or, lower than where you'd really want them to be. So we're working from a position where we need to recover going forward and then generate funding to continue investing in the system. Next slide, please. I won't dwell too much on the existing rates. Right now you have a structure where if you use nothing in a month, you pay a base charge just for being connected to the system, very standard in the industry. And then as you use water, on the right side, the volumetric charge, you pay for every 1,000 gallons that you consume. And as you use more, you pay more towards the Water and Sewer Enterprise Fund. Next slide is going to be sewer. It's very similar rate structure. Next slide, please. Okay. So this one is just a high-level demonstration of if you were just implementing CPI adjustments to your rates from 2015 until now, the past 10 years or so, it would be about 29% higher. You'd be in that $51, $52 per month for an average bill. That's again just a representation of where bills could be if we just adjusted for inflation. Next slide, please. So we've identified, working closely with staff, 2 options at this point that we're going to be primarily recommending to you. And the key objectives are to start breaking even or produce actual positive cash flows by fiscal year 2026. We're just starting fiscal 25 now, so that's really a 2-year rate adjustment phase in to get there. We are going to be using the first surpluses to restore reserve levels, and then we're trying to generate some funding to do capital improvements going forward to improve the system. And option 1 is a more upfront, more aggressive increase. And then option 2 is a little bit more phased in. And you'll see when we get a couple of slides further that option 1, being a little bit more aggressive, does provide additional funding for capital improvements over the next 5 years or so. Option 2 is a little bit less of, you get to a positive position, but you have less ability to do more capital, and there's a significant amount of capital that needs to be done. And the one thing that we worked with staff to come up on the very bottom is that there are certain transfers from the utility to the general fund for different types of services, IT, insurance, vehicles, and then administrative type transfers. And that's to the tune of about $1.6 million per year from Water Sewer Enterprise back to the general fund. And really, if those could be absorbed by the general fund for a year, that would help the enterprise recover more quickly, getting back to a more stable position with their reserve funds, the ability to fund capital. That's consideration. Definitely can be more discussion on that. It would be a negative impact to the general fund in a year where that may be the case if those transfers were not done. So that's totally separate consideration for you all as well. Next slide, please. So this is option 1 on the water and sewer. So the top of the chart shows percentage increases. The percentage increases they look pretty large. You see 35% on sewer. Down on the bottom, we try to put it in a little bit more perspective on what a customer would actually see. So you can see the first year we'd go from $40 to about $50. So it's about $10 a month. Getting pretty close to that inflation catch up from 2015 till now. And then going forward through 2029, we get to about $76. And we'll show you again on a comparison, the average of where the peer group that we showed was about $72 now. So you'd be getting to about $76 in 5 years from now. Next slide, please. So this shows you, again, just a little bit more detailed forecast of how the purple line now is introduced. This is your revenue forecast for water and sewer with those rate increases. So you can see that it's now above all the different operating expenses that you have. And you would be generating cash flow to do some much needed capital projects. Next slide, please. Option 2, you'll notice that what we're doing is we're phasing in the rate adjustments a little bit more. So on the bottom line impact and on that first year, instead of about $10, we're more in the $7 range. 2026 on option 1 was about $13. Here we're about $8 or $9, but it's spread out towards the back end. We end up at the same $76 bill. Next slide, please. So this one just demonstrates that we don't generate the cash flows quickly under this option. Next slide. We'll compare those options. Really what we want to look at is on the bottom of each of those charts, the annual surplus. So cumulatively, all the way to the right side, under option 1, we generate about $7.7 million. Give you round numbers about $5 million to start doing capital projects, unless you issued additional debt and leverage some of the cash flow. Option 2, in comparison, again, you get to the same $76 bill, but you've gotten there slower, so you generated additional less surplus over time because you didn't ramp up the rates as quickly. So that's really on the water sewer side, what the recommendation, the different options that we've identified so far. We're looking at getting a $40 bill to the mid 70 range over a 5-year period. It's a pretty significant impact. And again, I know there's gonna be questions, there's nothing to vote on tonight, but this is the magnitude, the range of outcomes that we're looking at about that $75, $76 bill level. Next, we'll get into stormwater a little bit. Next slide, please. Or we'll show a comparison again. So, if nobody changed rates over the next 5 years, you would jump up the scale to be a little bit higher than the average, but there's been rate impacts across the state for many years, and there will continue to be. So you'd probably be still less than average in 2029 compared to others. Next slide, please. Stormwater. Next slide. So similar objective. This fund for stormwater is in a little bit better financial position, but I understand that there are also major improvements that are needed. There's some flooding issues, and I think that's going to continue with the way just the environment is changing. So again, we have a faster increase option and then a more phased approach. So next slide. So the first option and the stormwater rates, these are charged on the annual property tax bill. So we're at a point where there can't be any changes to that bill until next October for the annual assessment. So the first one would be a $12 per year increase. Right now, people are paying you $72 per year for stormwater. And you can see the first one is $12. So from $72 to $84, it's $1 a month. And then relatively small increases thereafter for future years, getting you up to $93. Next slide. So this puts you in a position where you do start recovering on your operating costs again. And it provides really just a sliver of additional income to attempt to do some capital projects. You won't be able to do significant capital projects under this option. Next slide. Under option 2, here we're looking at that 29% increase. This would be playing catch up with inflation since 2015, taking your bill from $72 to $93 in 2026, and then implementing higher adjustments of $9 per year, going to $120 by the end of the forecast. Next slide, please. Here you can see that with the purple dashed line, we start to generate significant annual surpluses that can be used for projects, can be leveraged for issuance of new debt, to do larger projects. So those are the two options. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. There we go. So option, again, similar slide with the annual surplus generated. Option 1 under this scenario is the slower implementation. Option 2 is the higher rate adjustments. And you can see the level of funding that's achieved over a 5-year period. Next slide. And a comparison of some other local neighbors in Miami-Dade County. You can see that right now you're about middle of the pack, and doing either of those options moves you up the scale a little bit. Stormwater is still a largely evolving enterprise type activity, and most folks rely on additional funding from outside of just stormwater fees to implement their stormwater program. So it's not as clean of a comparison as on water and sewer. Next slide. And we have some recommendations for you. I won't go through all of them, but you can read them. We do think that rate adjustments of some level will be necessary. There's improvements that are needed to the systems. You have enterprise funds set up. The intent of enterprise funds is to be cash flow positive, to be establishing reserves, to be doing capital projects to maintain all the assets that you have in place, to continue providing services to your community. And if you were to continue right now without rate adjustments, you'd probably have to come to a decision point where the general government is going to be supporting the utility enterprises in perpetuity. And I don't think that's your full intent. So with that, try to keep it brief. If there's any initial questions, otherwise we certainly can set up some additional meetings to talk further.
All right. Any questions at this moment?
Mr. Mayor,
Commissioner Kelly?
thank you for the presentation. I do agree it is quite a lot of information, but I also want to say, because I've been around a long time, I know how it plays out. Before anything occurs, and I'm just saying this in general, before anything occurs in this city regarding an adjustment and or like for water rates or sewer, there are going to be plenty of discussion in the community. Plenty of discussion so the community is fully aware of what is needed and why it's needed. Because too often when you're dealing with things as magnitude, and I've been asking for this since I got back, because I know those rates, and we talk about flooding and our capital improvements to deal with drainage, really it starts with water, sewer, and stormwater rate study. You would agree?
Yes.
Yeah, so we need to know what those are. So I look forward to the individual meetings and also with the recommendations for management. But I do want to say, Mr. Mayor, and to my colleagues, really, I know this deals with flooding issues and you do give us some examples, a fast track, a slow track percentage wise. But I also think we've got to deal with what's happening right now before we deal with these rates, because we've got some major challenges with our water utility bills right now, what's coming from the county and what's being charged. And there's a lot of concerns, I'll say it like that, with some of the billing that's taking place. So I know your focus was not that, but that needs to be a part of any discussion, Madam Manager, that we have before we get to this part. We need to really deal with that because that has an impact even before you get to talking about this, because folks are already hurting now, trying to get a handle on the current utility bills. And we're talking about adjustments of the like. And obviously they're needed. Nobody wants to talk about that, but if we're going to deal with flooding and to get rid of the flooding and some of our drainage issues and pump stations and all those things that deal with infrastructure, this has to be dealt with. So I look forward to the meetings that we're going to have, but more importantly, when we go out into the community numerous times all over. And I would suggest you prepare this presentation, a whole lot of copies, because so residents can see and ask all the questions as we proceed to deal with this, because it is a real issue. But Madam Manager, I would hope we would have some kind of discussion as a part of this framework where we are now with some of our challenge with the county billing and some of the pain that our residents are feeling now with some of these utility bills. And I won't go into them anymore because you've heard some of the complaints. So I would just offer that. And again, thank you for the presentation. Look forward to the meetings. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any other concerns?
Mr. Mayor.
Commissioner Williams?
Yes, not just to piggyback a little bit, Commissioner Kelly kind of touched on what I wanted to discuss. I received a text in bold, all in caps, increase the water bill. Well, so here's where that gives me pause. And like I said, Commissioner Kelly did touch on it. We're now saying we're going to increase, but we have people that have received $1,700 water bills. And there is absolutely no one, and I'm being honest, people have called, but no one has gotten back from our own city with some of these residents. We have not gotten any answers. And I personally know one that have just been left out there and have not gotten another call back. That's a problem that we're saying we're going to increase, but yet we haven't even tried personally as a city to figure out what's going on now. So I'm confused with this presentation, because no one can seem to tell several residents why they have $1,700 and $1,800 bills. We keep like, that's a problem. So I don't know in the future. I pray and hope that the dais continues to have this conversation, but this is a major problem. And I'm going to say it again. I personally know that people have not gotten or received any updated information on their $1,700 water bills. Thank you.
Okay, so what Commissioner Williams said is the same thing that I was gonna say, because we had an issue just this past weekend with a mother of three who has a $30,000 water bill in the city of Opa-locka. So, and we know this is not your fault because we hired you to do this work. So, but that's why I said I wish we could pull back just a little bit on this, have conversations to see how we're going to rectify the situations that we're in currently, and then revisit at a later date. Because this is not the time. This is not
the Mayor's saying it real nice. He's saying it real nice. but
Shocked that it came. I
This is
know you
not
didn't think
the-
I was
and I
gonna
know
be
and
quiet.
it's not you. It's not you. Because again, you were hired
Like-
by us to do this. But Madam Manager, this is not the time. This is not the time. Yeah. Okay.
Great presentation.
But great presentation.
Great
though.
presentation.
Very informative.
I
Great presentation.
but yeah,
Thank you.
great presentation. You're right. Great presentation, but can't support it like now. No, ain't happening.
So again, in the future, I will say, but in the near future, Madam Manager, we need to have, to Commissioner Kelly's point, I totally agree. 2 meetings, one to get a better understanding of what and why
Mhm.
and how this, and then what, why, and how we're going to rectify what we're already dealing with at this present moment. So both of those meetings need to take place, like
Understood.
yesterday.
And Mr. Mayor, to be very clear, so it's clear, before anything would happen, it's going to go out in workshops to the community. So please before any of this, and I know it's not going to happen anytime soon, but when it does, it will definitely be workshop out in the community so the community can have input and understand fully what would be taking place and why, and also voice their concerns, because you do give some options and different scenarios, but I would want residents to be able to ask their questions, because tonight they can't really ask questions. They can just listen. So I think you can clearly understand what we're saying. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. And again, Mr. Williams, it's not you. So I apologize, but it's not you. But yeah, this is not the time.
Yeah,
But it was very good in presentation though.
last thing I'll add, I've been working with staff for several months, seen data from Miami-Dade, so I totally understand. And we're available to talk with y'all more when the time is right.
All right. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Williams. All right. So we're getting ready to go into our citizens forum. And we're going to ask Madam Clerk to state how to participate in citizens forum. But I want to say this before we go into citizens forum. Citizens forum is a time for our citizens to tell us what the issues are in the community. It is not the time for us to campaign. It is not the time for us to call and cuss each other out, disrespect the commission, disrespect the staff. That is not the purpose of citizens forum. This is the only time where the commission can actually come together as a unit and hear what you're actually dealing with on the ground level at home and in your residence. So we're asking that when you come up here, that you abide by the decorum policy set in place. And if you do not, we will have you escorted out, because this is not what this is for. We give you 3 minutes to tell the commission what your concerns are, address the commission as a whole. We didn't sign up to be beat up, cussed out, and we're not dealing with that. We're not dealing with that. So going forward, if that is the case, we're going to have you removed from the chamber. So we're going to ask the clerk to state how you can participate and the decorum policy for participating in citizens forum. And then we're going to open it up for those that are online. And then we'll, if any, and then those of you that are in the chambers. Madam Clerk, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening. City of Opa-locka Commission meetings are held in person at the Opa-locka Government Center, City Commission Chambers, 780 Fisherman Street, 3rd floor, Opa-locka, Florida. Members of the public wishing to address the commission may do so in person or virtually. Those persons wishing to participate virtually should register prior to the scheduled meeting time on the city's website at www.opalockafl.gov. When speaking before the commission, please make sure to give your full name and address for the record. There is a 3-minute time limit for public comments. Please adhere to the decorum policy, which is part of the commission meeting agenda. City commission meetings are aired through live stream at www.youtube.com/user/City of Opa-locka. And Mr. Mayor, we do not have any virtual public comments.
Okay. So we're going to open up citizens forum for those of you that are in the chamber. Citizens forum is open. You can come to the podium and The 3-minute time marking is here on the screen. Once you see it goes to 0, the mic will be muted and we'll move on to the next person. Citizens Forum is open.
Go up first. Good evening, Mayor Commissioner Audrey Dominguez, 1147 Jan Avenue. First, I wanted to congratulate Interim City Manager Shameka Lawson for being appointed as city manager. And as my college professors told me or said to me, you have an A in the class, so it's your job to maintain that A. But I know you're going to do a good job because you've been here for quite some time. Now, I wanted to speak in regards to FPNL. Power outages, although I know that it's in Kelly's agenda, but I have a lot of information. So since July 23rd, 2021 until recently, October 1st, we had numerous outages lasting over 12 hours at a time. I actually have a neighbor that are elderly and one is bedridden and is on oxygen and she needs it 24/7. And he informed me recently that he had to get a generator because of all the outages. Now, I contacted FPNL in May because I said, you know, this is a trend. It's been going on for quite some time. And I logged all the times that I got a text message. And I finally got a hold of someone in FPNL. It was a engineer. And he assessed the area and he stated that we needed to balance the load between the lateral lines. He told me it would take about 6 to 8 weeks. So I waited. I said, I'm going to give him the time to do it. And I waited until August. I sent him an email, never got a response. So I like I stated, I never got a response. So I took it a step further. I contacted Florida Public Service Commission October 1st. And if anyone is having issues with their water bill, their FPNL bill, or the FPNL, contact them. You will get a response and you will thank me later. The next day I received a call from the engineer telling me from the executive office of FPNL, which I was in shock, which was the engineer was Brian Beringer. He stated he would take over the problem and it would take about 18 days. He said October 18th. I said, okay, that's better than 6 months or 3 months or however long it took. He came and fixed the problem October 8th. It took him a week. I'm not sure if Commissioner Williams have noticed that the power did not go when Milton came by. Yeah, I was in shock too. Ever since we've had a power outage, I'm like the liaison from FPNL. They call me all the time, text me, hey, call me. But we had an issue in my neighborhood that there was a fire from a line.
We gotta move on, Commissioner.
Oh, okay.
But
Well,
for the record, do me a favor. What's the hotline number for FPNL that you said that you called?
oh, I don't have that.
You don't have it? Okay, so
No.
if you provide it to the clerk, we'll make sure that we put it out.
Okay.
Thank you. Citizens Forum is still open.
Good evening, Mayor Commissioners. Brian Dennis, address 2140 York Street. I want to address, and I'm not campaigning, the issue of what came in your mailbox yesterday. If you want me to autograph it, I'd be more than happy to. But the appointment of me serving on the board, this is an award I got from 1999 from the city of Opa-locka. And on this, it was awarded to me by then Mayor Alvin Miller, Vice Mayor Myra L. Taylor, Commissioner Mary Allen, Commissioner Bobby Bradley, and Commissioner Derek Miller. I got out of jail on August the 8th, 1996. From 1996 until now, I have done what I needed to do to change my life and to work with kids. So now, when people say what Commissioner Kelly did, Commissioner Kelly, when I got this award, was on the park. He was a supervisor. This how old it is. It is 25 years old. It is in the same box that it came in. So when stuff go out, it goes out. Win, lose, or draw, I'm gonna be here to help serve this city. And I'll sit on any board as long as I am asked to, or if I ask, like I did, to sit on the board and to champion the cause for the city. So I just wanted to reiterate that, to make that clear. You see me holding this, Vice Mayor, that this award is 25 years old, and I was appointed to the charter board in 1998. And so the date on this award is, again, June 19, 1999.
Thank you, Mr. Dennis. Citizens Forum is still open. Citizens Forum is still open. All right, Citizens Forum is closed. All right, moving on to our consent agenda. Madam Attorney, 13-2.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Opa-locka, Florida, authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement with Land Shore Enterprises LLC for the completion of Phase 2 of the Burlington Street Canal Slope Restoration Project in an amount not to exceed $708,164, further authorizing an additional 5% contingency budget of $35,408.20, providing for incorporation of recitals, providing for an effective date. This is sponsored by the city manager.
Can I get a motion?
Move for discussion.
Moved by Commissioner Kelly,
Second.
second by Commissioner Williams. Madam Manager?
Good evening. This is Phase 2 of the Burlington Street Canal Bank Restoration. Phase 1 was completed in fiscal year 24. Land Shore Enterprise LLC was the designated engineer for this project. Therefore, as city administration would like to establish an agreement with the contractor for Phase 2. And I also have Adelina Gross here to answer any questions you may have.
All right, this was pulled for discussion by Commissioner Kelly. Commissioner Kelly, I'll yield to you.
Yes, I support the item, but the first phase of this, and I'm trying to get the exact area, the canal area going from behind the new apartment complex of 22nd, is that was part of the first phase of this project?
Good evening, Commissioner Kelly. Good evening, Mayor and Commission. Adelina Gross, CIP Manager. Yes, that was part of the first area.
Okay, so this is the second part of that.
And the
Well, the
second,
second phase, I'm
the
sorry.
second phase will be north of 22nd and 141st.
Okay, I haven't had a chance, and it's not on you, Madam Manager, but I did have some concerns with a couple of residents who own homes on the street on the inside about what took place on that canal. They're concerned about the slope and cutting off some of the edge of their property, et cetera. I have the number of one of the residents, and I was trying to get a meeting, but I just hadn't had time. But I want us to at least go back and look at that, because they have concerns that they feel like the project kind of came into their property, and I'm not sure. But again, they didn't get an answer or get anyone to really respond. So I'll make sure through the clerk's office you get that information. Please reach out to them and meet with them, because there were several of them on that area. And so I just want to bring that up now, because I know they did the first phase. And the notification that went out for this, or will go out for the second phase, is the same process?
Same process. It will be hand delivered, is posted on our website, and usually is posted also on the social media.
Okay, because one of the concerns that was raised was the fact that folks weren't notified about it was coming. with the first phase. So I don't know what the process was to do it, but please make sure, if particularly everyone, but definitely residents that might be impacted,
We-
businesses, please do.
Sorry to apologize. Sorry to interrupt. And yes, we usually only notify the ones that are directly impacted by the project. Some around the area might complain that they see work being done and they were not notified, so we are expanding that section. But
Okay, that's a good suggestion. Expand it. And then you also keep a file of the folks that you're notifying, because I think one of the things that came up when the residents came before us was whether they were really notified or not, and nobody could really answer that question for them at a time. So if y'all keep a log or something where they were notified, not only for this, but for all those projects where people notified, it'll be
Yes, sir.
helpful. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions for the manager or Ms. Gross at this time? If not, we can call the question. Hearing none, Madam Clerk?
Vice Mayor Irvin,
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly.
Yes.
Commissioner Williams.
Yes.
Mayor Taylor.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
All right, going to the next item, 13.3.
Mr. Mayor, I believe that number 5 was pulled.
No, 13.3. 3 and 5. It's 2, 3, and 5.
Okay.
This is the item that the clerk said that there was a substitute or something. So we need to pull it and add it for the record. On the consent.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Opa-locka, Florida, authorizing the city manager to amend the agreement with EXP US Services, Inc. for the Safe Streets for All Comprehensive Safety Plan to allow for the collection of additional data, providing for adoption of representations, providing for an effective date, and this is sponsored by the city manager.
All right, can I get a motion?
Move it.
Moved by Commissioner Williams,
Second.
second by Vice Mayor. Madam Manager?
The city of Opa-locka received grant funding from the Federal Highway Administration to develop a comprehensive safety action plan under the Safe Streets for All program. The project was made public to bid and an agreement with EXP Services was contracted for an amount not to exceed $167,864. At this time, staff is requesting an amendment to the agreement. Ms. Adelina Gross is also here to answer any questions you may have.
Okay. It wasn't really pulled. I asked to pull it because you had a,
Yes, what the clerk reported was that there was a late item that was added that was not a part of the backup that you had previously. It is in front of you now, and it should be a letter that is addressed to Miss Adelina Gross that has the actual amount of on the attachment A. This item is the attachment A to the agreement, which is mentioned and referenced in the resolution, but it just didn't, it wasn't included. And so
Okay.
this is so that you can see what exactly the services would be, because it actually would be a part of the amendment. This amendment incorporates this document.
got it. So, at this juncture, Madam Attorney, let me ask you this. Do we need to do an amendment to add this document to, or we're good?
No, I think you're
Okay.
good. The clerk will carry forward and make sure that it's uploaded to
All right.
the website.
If there are no questions on this item, we can go ahead and we can move to call the question. Madam Clerk?
Vice Mayor Irvin,
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly.
Yes.
Commissioner Williams.
Yes.
Mayor Taylor.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
All right, item 13.5.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Opa-locka, Florida, authorizing the city manager to piggyback the City of Miami contract with H&R Paving, Inc. for qualified professional services for pavement resurfacing, City of Miami, IFB number 111538228, and enter into an agreement with H&R Paving, Inc. for milling and resurfacing services to complete phase 6 of the milling and resurfacing of Northwest 19th Avenue project and overlay of parking lot located at 777 Sherazad Boulevard in an amount not to exceed $155,000, providing for incorporation of recitals, providing for an effective date, and this is sponsored by the city manager.
Can I get a motion?
Move it.
Moved by Commissioner Williams,
Second.
second by Vice Mayor. Madam Manager?
This project is the milling and resurfacing of Northwest 19th Avenue and Historic City Hall parking lot. And I have Miss Adelina Gross here to answer any questions you may have.
All right, Commissioner Kelly, you pulled this item, so I yield to you.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this one is 19th Avenue and Historic City Hall parking area, if I'm not mistaken, is what you said, correct? What on 19, I mean, you say 19th Avenue, I'm just trying to,
19th Avenue and 141st Street where the concrete plant is located.
okay, so we're doing top coat.
We are doing milling and resurfacing, so we are removing all the current pavement and remilled and adding new pavement of 1.5 inches.
Okay, but doesn't that area need some drainage too? I mean, need some drainage, some work underneath, or?
The 19th Avenue has some drainage already. The issue with that street in a specific where you see the large holes is because of the amount of trucks that pass every day and the current pavement or current pavement that is less than 1 inch. So that's why you see cracks and holes. Back in 2021, I will say, there was a patch that was done, but it was not, the whole street was a mill. So it was only a patch, it was only a section. In this occasion, we are doing the whole street.
Okay, so we're doing 19. So what are we doing with the area right next to the apartment complex that everybody cuts through? What are we doing? Right, yeah, what are we doing? No, not here, over on 19th Avenue. Because to avoid going straight down, like you said, with the concrete company, most folks cut the street down by the Cordoba. And they drive, cut through there to get to, so that road really needs work too. So as we are paving and upgrading 19, what is the plan to deal with that? Or is that coming forward later? Because what's going to occur is what's kind of happening now. People are coming down that one, just like some other areas in the city to avoid, especially big trucks. So is that part of a future installment of our street improvements?
It is part of the future installment of the street.
Okay, and I know this is the same company we're piggybacking off of. So I've got to ask this question because I ask it every time we do one of these. I still have challenges with the work was done on 27, coming down, and where you have those big dips when you turn off. Whether it's coming off of State Road 9, coming around, it just drops off because they haven't come back and really smoothed it. And I know before the project is considered complete, they're supposed to do it. Is that still scheduled for when?
I will need to check on the schedule for that, but I'll get back.
And I'm bringing it up because where they've done the road on 27, but when you make the turn on any one of our streets,
Yeah.
those dips, 151st coming down, any one of them that is done. Yeah.
Let me answer that. Sorry. I was confused on the location. That wasn't done by the city. That particular section that you're referring to, Burlington, when you're coming down from State Road 9, that was not part of that's not a city project. That's part of FDOT project for 27.
No, I know it's a FDOT project, but I'm riding on this like our citizens are, and they're supposed to come back and smooth it.
Yes.
And I know originally we said they had a certain amount of time. So what I'm asking is when is that time? Because we're, as residents, we're got to come off of that. And it seems to be getting deeper and deeper when you make those turns. So that's what I'm asking.
I know because I pass by there every single day. This is an FDOT project. They are scheduled to finish the project and smooth all the areas, including all the ADA ramps for next year, because they are moving along the project. So they are going all the way down to Miami Gardens and then come back to finish the work product.
Well, Mr. Mayor, to the manager, I know it's an FDOT project, but the dips seem to be getting much deeper, and I know they're scheduled for next year. If we could maybe send them a friendly encourager, because some of them are really dropping. Maybe they can put some signage out there that says slow down, dip, or whatever, because it is getting worse. And if they're not scheduled to finish until next year, we don't know how long that's going to be.
Yeah.
But some of those dips are getting deeper, so we can ask them to put some signage slow down, dip is here, or whatever. So residents will know, because if you're in a high vehicle, it's not as bad, but if you're, in a car or something, it could do some damage. So I was just hope we could make that friendly encouragement to them and see if they can work with us on it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, I'm in full support of the item. However, we need to, Madam Manager, develop a program, because if we're gonna fix the streets, my issue is that they're gonna tear 'em right back up. The trucks that drive on that street are extremely heavy, which is why I propose a special taxing district for those particular areas, especially those areas, those industrial areas with the heavy trucks. So if we're gonna spend this money to fix those streets, then we need to come up with a plan to rectify maintenance going forward. So that I'm gonna continue to beat that horn, because that goes with 19th Avenue, Cairo Lane, and all of these other industrial areas. And Commissioner Kelly brought up one point that I was gonna bring up about the street that goes to Cordoba Courts. There's no way to stop trucks from going down that street if we work with,
Miami-Dade County and put signage.
right, to do a no through trucks, or, and then it's a sign, no through trucks and no trucks allowed, or residents only, so that they will not enter through that area, because they cut through.
We can reach out to the county.
Okay.
and
All
follow.
right, so that's it for me. So Madam Manager, can we please work on something between me, myself, and the attorney to do a special, what does that look like? A
Yes.
special taxing district?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Any other questions to, Ms. Gross or the manager? All right, Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Kelly,
Yes.
Commissioner Williams,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Irvin,
Yes.
Mayor Taylor.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
All right, so no planning and zoning items, they were withdrawn. We're going on to our ordinances. We're 16A1.
An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Opa-locka, Florida, amending Article 2, Division 2, Section 2-45 of the City of Opa-locka's Code of Ordinances entitled Agenda to delete all references to future agenda items, providing for severability for conflict and repealer, and providing for an effective date. This is sponsored by Mayor Taylor.
All right, can I get a motion?
Move it.
Moved by Vice Mayor,
Second.
second by Commissioner Kelly. This is my item. It's simply put, I just want to repeal the future agenda item. I never agreed with it. And I just always felt that we are the elected officials, so the elected officials should be legislating. And I felt that future agenda item was always a barrier to stop us from doing that. And I'm not throwing shade at the sponsor, she's not here, but that was my opinion. So here we are to repeal it once again. Try once again.
Public hearing?
This is a public hearing. That was not shade. This is the public hearing item. Public hearing is open. Public hearing is closed. Do we have any questions or concerns on this item? All right, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Williams,
I'm gonna go with the consensus, say yes.
Vice Mayor Irvin.
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly,
Yes.
Mayor Taylor.
Yes.
Motion passes first reading.
Commissioner Williams, you said that's my pardon gift, your pardon gift, that's what you just said. Okay, item 2 was withdrawn. We're moving on to 16A3.
An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Opa-locka, Florida, amending the annual adopted general proprietary and special revenue funds budgets for the fiscal year commencing October 1, 2023 and ending September 30th, 2024, adjusting revenues and expenditures as reflected in Exhibit A, providing for the expenditure of funds established by the budget, authorizing the city manager to take certain actions, providing for the appropriation of all budgets and expenditures, providing for fees consistent with the appropriations and amendment, providing for incorporation of recitals, providing for conflict and repealer, providing for severability, providing for an effective date. This is sponsored by the city manager.
All right, can I get a motion?
Move it.
Moved by Vice Mayor, can I get a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Kelly. Madam Manager, go ahead.
This is the first reading for budget amendment number 6. The intent of this item is to align the fiscal year 24 budget with current city requirements. I have Mr. Dake Swartey here, if you have any questions.
All right, this is a public hearing item. Public hearing is open. Public hearing is closed. Do we have any questions for Mr. Date or the manager on this item?
Mr. Mayor,
Commissioner Kelly?
I would not, he's smiling. I I would not be who I am if I didn't point it out, because, you know, I'm seeing the funding source for being able to do some of these with vacancies. Can you tell me where those vacancies are coming from that's going to provide the funding?
Good evening, Commissioner, Mayors, Jake Schwartz, Senior Budget Analyst. So specifically, the savings for the IT we're utilizing from IT. So we budgeted 4 employees in FY 24, and we're currently have 3. So there were some savings in there. So that is currently the only savings from vacancies that we have in this particular budget amendment. I also have in water sewer, I do have some savings in the life insurance and the health insurance policy for FY 24.
Okay, so it's just a position that's currently not filled.
That is correct.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
No problem. And the question that I had was in relation to the Sesame Street Bridge culvert water main.
Yes.
So now that is done, how far before we finish Sesame Street? And I know that's a question for Ms.
Adelina.
Adelina. But if, well,
Adelina.
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 So the question is about the covert.
Item 6. So now that is complete, what's the
Sesame
timeline?
Street Culvert.
Sesame
She, can you repeat your question, Mr. Mayor?
Oh,
Sorry,
sorry.
has a question by resident.
Okay, so the Sesame Street Bridge culvert water main had to be replaced due to rupture.
Yes.
We paid it, and I'm assuming that the work has been completed.
Yes.
So what's the timeline on the bridge actually being open and running?
The bridge should be ready before December.
Oh, before December.
Yes, we are currently at 70% of completion. They are doing all the guardrails and sidewalk at this point.
We've never did nothing like this before, but I'm gonna move that we have a ribbon cutting for that bridge, because it's been a long it's been a long time.
That's because the mayor want to go fishing, that's all. He wanna go fishing.
You've been messing up my shortcut too. That's a long way. All right, so that was my only question as it relates to that. All right, we are good. All right, any other questions to Mr. Date? All right. All right, hearing none, as we move to Madam Clerk.
Vice Mayor Irvin,
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly,
Yes,
Commissioner Williams.
Yes.
Mayor Taylor.
Yes.
Motion passes first reading.
All right, as we go to 16B1.
An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Opa-locka, Florida, creating a new Article 11 of the City of Code of Ordinances, renumbering the following sections, specifically adopting certain provisions of Senate Bill 102, the Live Local Act relating to affordable housing, providing for the administrative approval of certain qualified projects containing affordable housing units, authorizing the city manager to take certain actions, providing for incorporation of recitals, providing for conflict, providing for severability, providing for an effective date. The first reading was held on June the 26th, 2024, and this is sponsored by the city manager.
All right, can I get a motion?
Move it.
Moved by Vice Mayor,
Second.
second by Commissioner Williams. Madam Manager. You can go ahead and present guidance.
Staff is recommending approval of this item. So the city will be in compliance with the Live Local Act. And I would ask Mr. Gay to come up and provide additional information on this item.
All right, this is a public hearing item. Before Mr. Gay comes up, public hearing is open. Hearing none, seeing none, public hearing is closed. Mr. Gay, any questions for Mr. Gay? Well, I had a question, but I don't know if it was rectified. The question about the B1 zoning area that.
Yes, Gregory Gay, Director of Planning and Community Development. During the advertisement between the first time and this time, we did notice that there was a zoning category that was left out within the whereases for the description. As it relates to the SB 102, it refers to all commercial mixed use and industrial zone properties within the city of Opa-locka. Unfortunately, the B1 was left out. It should have been included. So staff does recommend that we include that particular zoning category as well.
All right. To include, Madam Attorney, will we need to do a motion?
She would.
All right. Before we do the motion, any other questions for Live Local to Mr. Gay?
Mr. Mayor, I don't have a question. I just wanted to thank the staff. They did have a workshop, although the weather was bad, but they did do a presentation, PowerPoint that could be accessed on the city's media. So they did do that. So if individuals or residents or business owners need to know more information about it, I would encourage them to go to the meeting minutes and the presentation. They can see for themselves or listen to the changes. And again, it's not something we're promoting, but it's something passed down by the legislature that we're unfortunately or fortunately, however you look at it, have to update and follow. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right. All right. Thank you, Mr. Gay. We're moving on to the amendment for adding B1 to the, how do you want to word that, Mr. Gay? To the resolution, to the.
In whereas 4 is the category that lists out all of the zoning categories. B1, which is a neighborhood commercial, should be included within that particular whereas.
Okay, so the motion is to add B1 to the whereas that it needs to be. We'll say that, and then
So let me just go back a second, because if it's an advertising issue, then that was just an advertising issue. But what you're saying is it wasn't in the ordinance previously, like it wasn't in the first reading of the ordinance, or it was in the first reading of the ordinance?
It was not in the first reading of the ordinance, but it wasn't within the title itself. It was within the body of the ordinance itself.
oh, it can be all right. All right, so that's the motion to add B1 into the body of the actual ordinance. Can I get a second?
Second
All
on
right,
the motion.
second
Can I-
on the motion.
I don't, for some reason, I'm
Mr. Mayor.
real quick. Madam Attorney, through the mayor, would that be something that you would want to see before we move forward to know? Because, I mean, we're saying it, I didn't see it in the I didn't see it, but I could be wrong, but I don't know. Would you like? to
Well, the
make
only
sure?
issue is if staff is recommending it and you all approve that, it's
Okay.
fine. It's not going to be an issue. I guess the only issue we would have is just from a legal standpoint is just making sure that at least my staff has reviewed all of if that was a zoning, something that was left out and it requires some level of legal review. And it's something that's being added tonight for the first time. And if you're telling me, you work with Ms. Booker and she knew about that and et cetera, and it was just then something that's left out, I don't know.
It was just arbitrarily left out.
Okay. But you all have looked at everything else that would impact that in terms of height and area, and
Everything
that was all
remain
considered.
consistent.
Okay. So.
Okay.
So it was moved by myself and second by
Mr. Mayor.
Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Kelly, before we go.
Yes, so Madam Attorney, you are comfortable with it based on the information Mr. Gay is putting on the public record?
Well, Mr. Gay is, he's putting it on a public record that that's what he, I guess, has been promoting with the workshops, and he's talked to my land use attorney about that, and everybody's on the same page, and it's just a scrivener's error. So that's what he's saying, and I take him at his word, and I am comfortable with that.
Okay, I don't know if I'm comfortable with it. Okay, no, I'm not comfortable with it. My challenge is because we advertised this, correct? This is a first reading or second reading?
This is a second reading.
So could we defer to the next meeting at time certain without us costing more money?
You could defer it without it costing money because it's at a public meeting that you're deferring it to a time
Okay,
certain.
I mean, I think I understand, and from attending the workshop, I think it's something I just would have a comfort level for you to be able to say yes. I think, from my understanding of it, it would be okay, but just, it's not something that needs to pass tonight, I don't believe, correct? It's not that time sensitive, is it?
Taking consideration that the law has already been signed and already in place, has been active for over a year and a half now. This is just the way the city of Opa-locka would be addressing and being in compliance with that law.
Okay, so having said that, then if we were to pass it, Madam Attorney, you found out that something was not there, you would let us know?
I would let you know. I would prefer, I mean, given the time and we've waited this long to get it going, I would prefer to have my land use attorney look at it and talk to Mr. Gay and then have it back on the next agenda. I don't think that's going to hurt the city in any way.
Well, that's the question I'm asking,
So
from a
that
liability with the state doing something to us because we have not
yeah,
passed it already?
I think that's very unlikely.
Okay, well, then if that's the case, Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry. I would prefer to just defer the item to the next meeting so it could be noticed. And that would give the attorney's office and the manager's office and really the commission have a more comfort level. And the attorney saying she doesn't believe it's going to have an impact legally. I do understand Mr. Gay is saying it's been a while, but I would rather have the comfort level. I always like to try to follow legal opinion when it's given. So I would recommend deferring the item to the next regular commission meeting. Whatever that date is, that would be my suggestion or recommendation. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, so I withdraw my motion for adding it to the whereas. And the new motion on the floor is to defer the item to a date certain, which is, Madam Clerk, the next meeting, I believe, is November, was that 14?
13.
13. To a date certain, which is November 13th. So that is the motion. Can I get a second on that motion?
Second.
Oh, Commissioner, you made the motion.
Oh.
Second.
Second by Vice Mayor. All right, so the motion is to defer item B, what is that, B1 to the date certain, which is November 13th. It was moved and second. Can I, Madam Clerk, roll call?
Commissioner Williams,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Irvin,
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly,
Yes.
Mayor Taylor.
Yes.
Motion to defer passes 4-0.
All right, moving on to the last one of the night, which is item 16B2.
An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Opa-locka, Florida, amending an ordinance prohibiting the storage of recreational vehicles, specifically amending Article 5, Section 22-116 of the City of Opa-locka's Land Development Regulations to extend the time for the city's public information campaign intended to educate residents on requirements of the ordinance from 90 days to 180 days pertaining to the removal of recreational vehicles, providing for severability, providing for codification, providing for an effective date. The first reading was held on September the 25th, 2024, and this is sponsored by the city manager.
All right. No, it's sponsored by Commissioner Williams.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sponsored by the city, sponsored by Commissioner Williams. I apologize,
That's fine.
Commissioner Williams.
All right, can I get a motion?
Move it.
Moved by Commissioner Williams,
Second.
second by Vice Mayor. This is a public hearing item. Commissioner Williams, we're going to let you present, and then we'll open up a public hearing.
Okay, it's pretty self-explanatory. It's just asking for an extension just for the information campaign in order to educate our residents. Again, like I stated, the first hearing, it doesn't mean it's gonna take all 180 days, but it does give the city more time to ensure that all of our residents know about the ordinance. That's it.
All right, this is a public hearing item. Public hearing is open. Public hearing is closed. I do have a question, before we vote for the sponsor, Commissioner Williams, to the Commissioner Williams, the 180 days is inclusive of what already took place, right? So when is the 180th day?
It would start at today.
Today.
From the passage, yes.
Okay. All right, my concern is none of us know your intent.
No, we will.
It's gonna come back next, oh, okay. Then I'm comfortable, okay, we're good. Well, you know,
I don't know. I'm
That's-
baffled. I'm asking and I can't gauge if what I'm hearing. We may have another meeting before I don't know.
Well, we have another.
I know there's a 13th, but I keep going around and around. If
Well-
maybe the Madam Clerk could, I don't know.
Because the election is the 5th. This is Commissioner Williams' item. So, huh?
I've asked.
So, most likely the votes will be certified, I guess, that Friday, but this would need to come back while she's sitting. So,
No, it
that's what you're
doesn't.
saying? I just want
No.
to know your intent, because no one would know.
No, this is the intent is only to educate the
Oh, I
residents.
thought you were gonna tweak it. That's what I was assuming that was gonna happen.
Well, it's been a lot going on. I'm hearing there may be a special commission meeting, but I don't know.
Mr. Mayor? So basically, we're provided by Miami-Dade County Elections with a timeline of the unofficial certification, which will take place that Friday following the election day, which is, I believe is November 8th. And then we also, the following Friday, we get the official certification. I think based on our code, the city of Opa-locka has to wait on the official certification. Now keep in mind that these dates are subject to change. So that's the reason that I can't provide, I have to go by the dates provided by Miami-Dade County Elections.
So I guess the question is, there is another commission meeting with the current commission.
So our next, I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, our next regular commission meeting is
That's the
November
14th.
13th.
13.
So if we do get the official certification prior to the 13th, it will be up to the commission whether or not they want to do a special commission meeting to certify the election results, which needs to take place.
Okay, so can we?
I'm back.
Okay,
I
so
don't know.
I'll say two things. One, then what we would need to do is move to do a public presentation by Commissioner Williams if we certify before the 13th, so we can know what your thought pattern was. And then if she's sitting here, then we can move forward with it. I guess, you know what I'm saying?
Mr. Mayor, I get it, and I don't mind having this conversation with Commissioner Williams and making sure whatever the intent is, that we make sure that we accomplish that.
Okay, because this is her item.
Yes.
So I want to make sure that, yeah.
Now, just keep in mind, I don't set certification dates.
No, we're not
I mean,
saying that. But so if for any reason it comes in early, then we know we need you to do a presentation. And she says she's amenable to it, so we're good. All right, so.
I'm sorry. Yeah, we'll make sure that we make it happen, so that way Commissioner Williams will be here
I don't know.
for
I
her
keep
item.
asking and I keep getting different dates and it just goes around. I don't know.
All right, so any other questions for the sponsor or the attorney or the manager or at this point, the clerk on this item? All right, we're good. Madam Clerk, you can go ahead and call the question.
Vice Mayor Irvin,
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly,
Yes.
Commissioner Williams.
Yes.
Mayor Taylor.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
All right. We're gonna go to our city manager's report.
I submitted a written report to the City Commission that provides an overview of key activities, initiatives, and developments with the City of Opa-locka. It highlights ongoing projects and departmental updates. Our focus remains on enhancing the quality of life for residents, fostering an economic growth, and ensuring public safety. I will entertain any questions or concerns that you may have at this time.
Okay. Any questions for our interim city manager at this time, our city manager at this time?
I do have one question.
Vice Mayor?
Thank you. The 18 bank accounts that were open, of course, without our permission. Did you get, copies of those? Were you able to get copies of those statements to make sure that no money was deposited or taken out of those accounts?
Yes, and I can also have our finance director speak to it if need be. According to our finance director, 18 bank accounts were open. However, no funds were transferred to those bank accounts, and she does have copies of the statements.
Okay. So then I have a question after hearing that, because we didn't, now I've been here almost 2 years. I know we did not, say yes to open these accounts. So I guess now I have a question for the attorney, if I may, Mr. Mayor. Is this criminal, Madam Attorney?
I don't know the answer to that question.
I can find out.
It would be, I could tell you at the very least, it would be in violation of your code of ordinances. Because the city, as the city commission establishes the authorization for banks and banking accounts, and I'm assuming that, and I'm only assuming because it's I don't have the information, but this is a bank account or bank accounts that are outside of the bank accounts that have been authorized, or the bank that has been authorized by the city commission. So with that said, I can tell you that it would not have been properly open under your code. However, in terms of criminal, and I don't, that's beyond my expertise. So I don't know the answer to that question.
Okay, can you help me get an answer to that question? I have to be tonight, but
Well, the finance director may have
she's right here.
Oh, she may have, hi. She may have some input in terms of whether there are finance standards and controls that auditing standards that are that would cause that to be a criminal matter.
Hi.
Hello. Good evening, Mayor and
Good evening.
Commissioners. Naima Gant, Director of Finance.
So I'm trying to figure out,
Mhm.
because these accounts are open without our permission.
Mhm.
And I'm just wondering if this will be a criminal act. That's all I'm wanting to know.
Due to there being no tangible dollar amount attached to any of those accounts,
Okay.
I'm not an attorney, I'm not legal. I would see that it isn't a criminal activity, but I believe it is in violation of your charter in terms of the way in which those accounts should be established.
Help me out. Go ahead.
I was just gonna ask, when were the accounts open?
It was August of
Oh, August 20,
August
I see.
2023.
Have we been charged for those accounts, or they're zero?
They did assess fees for no activity, for no balances being established. They did assess fees.
Do you know how, if I may, Mr. Mayor, how much those fees come in total?
$160.
Per account
No,
or total?
Mm-hmm.
So I guess, Madam Attorney, to cure this issue, we obviously would need to pay the fees. And do we need to bring resolution to move to close the accounts? Or is there an intent of why they were open or in the first place? Or we don't-
You could certainly bring forth legislation to close the accounts, yes, sir.
Okay, so I guess you all can work with the city manager's office to do that. Do you have any other questions? As
That-
relates to this?
No, that was it. I did, Mr. Manager. Mr. Mayor,
Commissioner Williams.
Mayor, so I'm sorry. Okay. I'm sorry. Good evening, Ms. Gant. I had a
Yes,
quick
ma'am.
question. I noticed under the finance report that you received over 250 candidates, but only are interviewing 3. Is that because we're still not receiving, or these are the best 3?
So,
Mhm.
to be clear, that's for the data analyst position we advertised. I guess the title of the vacancy, data analyst, most of those folks replied were all IT related persons. They
Okay.
weren't accounting individuals. So it's just the wrong industry for finance.
Are we, can you say that we're fully staffed in the finance department or no?
We are not fully staffed.
Do you think, and I know that sometimes I become very calculated with saying, to contract out. Do you think that we're at that point now to do something similar or do that on a small scale?
So to contract out in terms of like temporary staffing,
I don't know.
because I
don't
currently
know.
have
I
2.
have, no, I know. And that's what I'm saying, because I know that would be, but I mean, to contract out to fill the other positions that's needed.
At this point, my intent is to transition from temporary staffing to full-time employees. I want to use a 30-day basis to really gauge whether or not they're a good fit for the city. And so far, things are working out. We still have some more time within that 30-day window. I haven't reached that threshold yet, but I don't believe it's necessary for us to outsource
Okay.
beyond temporary staffing as
Correct.
needed.
And then I know a few months back, I asked about the increase in salary, if that would support this. Did that help or?
Yes, it did.
Okay,
Yes, it did.
okay.
Mhm.
Is there anything else that we can do? Because this has been that one department that have
Mhm.
always been, not that other departments aren't hard to staff,
Mhm.
but it's just always been that we couldn't fully staff, the city couldn't fully staff. And I just
Sure.
wonder, what are those processes that we need to do as a commission? And hopefully you can let the commission know. I just threw that out because I thought, like, wow, that's a lot of candidates, but you're correct. That's more of an IT position.
Yes.
But still, when we talk about finance, there should still be a lot more employees within in order to make sure that our systems and processes are gauged correctly, i.e. the conversation that just took place right now.
Mhm.
So if we don't have enough people to keep their eye on those fail safes,
Mhm.
then we're not going to catch them.
Mhm.
And I think that's the issue, because now we don't know the intent as to why so many or whatever.
Mhm.
So I'm just trying to, work through, like, it's been a while. So I guess you can always come
Understood.
back and talk to the commission about, or I guess the Miss Lawson,
Mhm.
but so that we can just, get the finance department where it needs to be.
Yes.
Thank you.
But while you still have the floor,
Mhm.
what's the head count? What's the ideal head count?
10,
10, where you are now?
6.
6, and that doesn't include the 2 temporary.
It
that you
does
said?
include the 2 temporary
That does
staffers.
include.
Yes, sir.
So you're still short.
I am
4.
very short.
All right, and we do have a contract with the temp agency. That's what you're.
Correct, yes.
And have they been helpful in?
Very, very
What
helpful.
about the additional other? Oh, no, you said we have 2, so that means we
Mhm.
have 4 full-times, 2 temps, and we need 4 more.
Correct. To bring us up to 10.
Is that something that we can do with the temp agency to bring more staff in?
Yes, we can.
Or if
We can.
not, and I see where Commissioner Williams is going with the outsourcing, but
Mhm.
that would be more of a hybrid model. Because it'd be inclusive of both temp, outsourced agency, plus what we have
Mhm.
in-house. But you're saying you think you can actually get to the 10?
I think I can. This is my second round of 2 persons from this agency. The first 2 didn't work out for us. So we've been utilizing them as we can.
Okay, and this is
Mhm.
the temp agent that we currently are, I think the Robert half or something?
No,
No.
it's
We moved.
4 BB. 4 BB?
4 BB.
For BB.
other
Is this
municipalities use
Agency,
them.
do they specialize in finance
I was just
or
about to say that was.
is
I
it
would have
just
to
one of our, like,
I don't know what their
a
specialties.
typical?
But they,
So I guess that's what I'm saying.
Mhm.
How can we go out and find or outsource? And I know it's not, everybody doesn't like that, the term outsource, but how can we then go to a specialized agency that we then outsource contract to come in and help us until we get, I mean, temp agency just seems so like, not that I know it fits, but you just said right now, it's kind of a come and go,
It
but we
is.
need something steady.
The only other thing I can suggest besides the temp agency is just advertising in those entities like the Florida Government Finance Officers Association websites, which has an affiliated cost. Excuse me, that one's at no cost. But then there's the national GFOA that does come at a cost. If we can push our advertisements in those directions, those are accountants.
So maybe what we need to do, and I'll stop here, is maybe what we do need to do is look at how we market and strategize ourselves when it comes to bringing in talent into the finance department. Maybe we're not putting enough dollars. I said this a few months back into, we talked about salary, but now it's going out to recruit, and that recruitment piece is huge. And we won't attract the talent that we need. I mean, we got you, thank God. But the talent that we need, if we're not putting those dollars, I don't know if that would be a budget amendment so that those dollars are there, but something has to happen because this has just been kind of a thing that's a thorn that has not, a hole that's not been plugged. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Commissioner Kelly.
thank you. I commend you for the work that you're doing under staff. I'm reflecting and reminiscing because you made the same statement really a year or so ago at the budget process of needing more staff. And we instructed that time to actually put more dollars out there, to come back to the commission with any suggestions, even if it did cost. So I would hope, Madam Manager, we would look at not only the entity that's free, but also those that may have a little more cost to try to attract individuals, because while we're using the temp and they may work out, as she indicated, the director indicated, the last two didn't. So rather than to do that while we're utilizing them, if they do work out, because you have other position filled, again, it's at your discretion to utilize a little more funding to go to that next level, as Commissioner Williams said, to try to attract folks, because I remember you saying you needed 10 and you were way understaffed before and you're still understaffed. Doesn't make any sense to me because we got money we should have been budgeting to put into. And I said before, we're going to get out of financial emergency, get our books where we need to be. It really starts in finance with getting reports, even though we got an auditor, we got a firm in there that's helping you, but you have to be fully staffed because you're doing other things other than just that. So I would hope we would look at that. Obviously, there's something over your threshold you could bring back to the commission, but if it's not, to go ahead and do that. I like the idea of having folks in-house. I do understand that we can't do it going to a temp or to outsourcing, but I always try to prefer in-house with the folks who are with us. So I hope we could do that, and that works, and we can get those positions filled, because we're still at the critical point of really trying to get our audits and everything done. And since you're standing there, Mr. Mayor, under finance, it mentions about the 23 audit, the issuance that's slated for December. But it also says something about the commission may not meet the second half of that month. So they're trying to press quicker, I guess, to meet the deadline of the first meeting. Obviously that can happen. That's fine, but if not, to the mayor and commission, if there has to be a special meeting for that, then that ought to be done too.
Okay.
I mean, want to make sure they complete it. It's airtight, solid. And although we may not have a scheduled meeting, I'm quite sure the mayor and talking to the manager, if need be, can schedule a special meeting to deal with that so we can make sure that we're on progress to move forward with our audit for that needs to be done. The only other, well, you mentioned about the finance and other things, so I'm good with that. So thank you for the work you're doing, understaffed, and hopefully we can get those positions filled so that we can really move forward, not only with those things, but to enhance the finance department as a whole. Thank you for that. Thank you.
We're here to help.
Wait, Commissioner Kelly, you about to go on with the report?
Well, I had some other things under the report, but
I did too, but right on the finance, really quick. I'm sorry, before you go on, because I look like we about to dive into every department. I would like to see, inclusive of her recommendation, what it would look like, a snapshot of all possibilities. So if to do, like Commissioner Williams said, a temporary outsourcing hybrid situation, more robust advertisement in different the channels that you suggested versus what Opa-locka is doing right now, inclusive of your recommendation on how you can move forward so that the commission can be abreast of it. And like Commissioner Kelly said, maybe it's something that we can you actually can move without legislation, but I personally would like to see it. Thank you. And also, the only thing that concerns me as it relates to the audit, are we now working with last year?
We're working on the year prior.
No, I know we're working on the year prior. However, they're at the external. So the internal auditors, they're just at a standstill?
No. We're continually communicating daily.
Daily.
But yes, Markham, the external auditor, they've activated.
Okay, and I'll say this again, I said
They've
all the time.
activated.
The challenge that I have at minimum
Mhm.
to get from under financial oversight, we need to submit one on-time audit. And we know December is our deadline, but the state's deadline is March for the last year.
Yes,
So,
for 24.
right.
Mhm.
So you know where I'm going with that. So
Understood.
that's why I asked since it's with external
Yes.
and they're working
Mhm.
internally, are we working on last year?
Yeah, absolutely. We're doing both at the same time.
So I would like a report or however you want to
Okay.
give it on how and where we are and if we can make the March deadline or I believe, what is it, June?
Fiscal year 24,
Yeah, but it's March, it's due in March, but the extension is in June.
June 30, yes.
However, I don't want Opa-locka to submit for an extension.
Mhm.
I want us to submit on time.
I'm a short woman. That's a tall task.
I know, but I believe
I will
you
do
can
my
do it.
best.
I believe you can do it.
that's why we're trying to get you fully staffed.
That's how we try to get
I
you
will
fully
do my
staffed.
best.
I believe you can do it. Because
Okay.
at minimum, you were there at minimum.
Of course,
According to all of the other stuff that they told us to do, we got to get an audit on time.
of course.
And yeah, so thank you.
Okay.
That's all on that one.
Okay.
Commissioner Kelly, you.
Yes, just a couple other things. First of all, I want to thank you, Madam Interim Manager, for the physical report. I like that. Some of the things that we've been asking or concerned about, and I see it in black and white. So I want to thank you just for that. I didn't have a chance to look at all of it, but a couple of things that I did want to highlight because it's really under my report to talk about FP&L. And I see you talk about the damage repairs to things around the city. I mean, in terms of city properties or devices, et cetera, surveillance and all of those, and what we're doing here. But of course, we keep having these challenges, as was mentioned, these little power outages throughout the city when it seems like it's no rain. And some of it, I've been told, is attributed to old poles, old whatever that is in line to get upgraded or hardened or whatever. So if you could just have our, hopefully our FNL rep to give us a report on when the last time all of our poles were updated, hardened, et cetera, and what the explanation is. Because even though we didn't have the storm that was mentioned, we had power outages, and we continue to have those little pockets and areas that impact residents, and some of those residents are elderly, can't get out, et cetera. So we could look at that. I appreciate it. I do see on here, and of course, I'll be looking for it on, let me just make sure I got my date right. October 23rd, I'm gonna just be sitting somewhere in the street waiting on the PSA officer to ride down the street. I know it's today. I'm actually giving you one more day. Y'all didn't get it, see? You got, okay, the manager's office got it. I'm giving one more day. I see it 23rd, but I'm giving one more day. I'm glad at that. I do see that, so I want to hopefully have that to take place. I am still concerned, and I guess it kind of goes to what was mentioned with the brotherhood, and it's not just something that's only in Opa-locka, but I'm still concerned about some of the things happening with around our community in certain areas with public safety. So I know you'll be working on that. So I look forward to getting some information on that. The last thing I wanted to highlight or mention, and I'll, like I said, the others I'll speak to you more, was 11C that had the challenge because of the weather. And you indicate that you're going to present a item in the future because you got an RFP out currently for citywide stormwater and evaluation repair. I got that. But in terms of the 11C, what do? We did a temporary fix on it to get it running while the item is being prepared for the commission, because we know 11C is our main artery for our station.
Mr. Austin will give an update on 11C.
Thank you.
On 11C, we're currently operating on one of 3 pumps. 2 of them got damaged, and we're waiting on a formal proposal to bring a resolution to the commission to repair those 2 pumps that were damaged
So when do we anticipate having those proposals?
by Monday of next week.
So right now we're operating on one.
1 pump, yes. 1 new pump. So
You wanted to highlight new, so that's
yeah.
because that was my next question. Are we operating on an old pump? Because it was only one, but you said new, so
1 new pump.
that gives us a little comfort level.
Yes, sir.
Obviously, okay, because that was my concern. Because we know 11C is our main.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Thank you on that. And you have in your report,
Commissioner Kelly, 1 second, if you don't mind, because every time you touch on something, we all got questions. Can you come back, Madam Manager? Commissioner Williams got a
No, I
question.
got a quick question, Madam Manager. For the FPNL, is Mr. Austin, do I direct my question? Okay, great. First, you look great. Let's start there.
I like that. I almost thought that was my turn.
I have to always comment on your, you are, great. However,
The calm before the storm.
I listen, I thank Commissioner Dominguez and Commissioner Kelly. One of the things that is known for Opa-locka since I've been here, born and raised, is power outages. Like, everybody know power outages happen. Like that is something that we've talked about. But recently it has been so bad. Like, there's no wind, there's no rain, but Jan Avenue gonna be first. Jan Avenue gonna be first. I don't know what it is about Jan Avenue. Everything happens right there. Is there any, and I'm asking you this for the people that are affected. And if you're not affected and you don't understand when you walk in your house and it's 6 o'clock and the lights are out and you hear generators going and you know there are seniors on the block, like there, and what Commissioner Dominguez is saying is it's a real thing, but it has been more frequent than I've ever seen in my lifetime. What's the rationale?
It's due in part to overgrown trees in the alleys from private property growing into the power lines. As of late, we've been requesting FPL to come out, and their tree trimming contractor is pointing the finger the other way, that it's not their problem, it's Opa-locka's problem. But we're working to resolve that.
But historically, it has always been, I mean, just to be honest with you, so I get it.
Yes.
I know, I understand it's happening now, but it almost seems as if it's not going to ever end. And so what I'm asking is, I get that we're engaging with FPNL now, but how does this end at some point? And I am telling you, it's not, yes, there are some areas that are affected a lot more. But if you are a resident of Opa-locka and you know there's a storm coming, you automatically prepare yourself for your lights to go out. Like that's a given. And so I don't, how do we, and I guess where, like I just mentioned, the street, how do we ensure that FPNL stop patchworking and actually put equipment that works? How do we ensure that?
The long-term goal is to have FPNL underground or overhead power lines.
May,
That could be
may I,
20 years from now.
may I
Yes.
interrupt for a second? Mr. Austin, I'm not, you know where I live, correct?
Yes.
I'm not sure, maybe about 2.5 years ago, FPNL came out and they're like right across from Bundy, they did something. And I asked, and they said that they were installing something where it doesn't let our lights go off that often. And our lights rarely go off. You can tell when whatever it is kick in, because the lights are like flash, but then they come right back on. Is it what, I don't know what it's called, but would that work for their street?
They've changed the manual overhead fuses to electronic smart fuses. When it trips, it monitors the line for any shorts and then it re-energizes the power relatively quickly.
Yeah, our lights used to go out a lot, but not anymore. Right away.
That's also an upgrade that we could request for areas.
Okay, you might want to, can we ask them about that?
We'll look at that.
Was that a cost to the city or that was just a cost?
That's a part of their upgrading and hardening project.
Okay.
Then my question is, because you talked about the overgrown vegetation on the power lines.
Yes.
I understand the fight, Mr. Austin, but that's something that we can do. Like, we can clear those lines. Even if we do it with them.
We cannot get within 7 feet of a power line.
You can't do it.
We cannot.
So then why are they, then I'm gonna take a note out of Commissioner Kelly's book. Madam Attorney, is this something that we could to force FPNL to clean the vegetation from the power lines? If we can't do it, then what's our next step?
FPNL does have a liaison that the city can try reaching out to, and generally speaking, they do try to work with municipalities. I don't know if the city is in touch with that liaison that's assigned to this area,
Yes,
but
we are.
okay.
Yes, we are.
So that's generally how things get done, and they and I will also provide an additional contact and see if that contact is helpful.
Right, right. Well, Commissioner Kelly had the floor, then it went to Commissioner Williams.
No, it was.
I know.
It's all over the place.
Commissioner Williams, go ahead and finish.
No, I just didn't want Mr. Austin to sit there. Yeah,
All
that's
right.
it.
Commissioner Kelly, you done or you got more on your?
No,
have questions.
the rest I just want to thank the report, and I will send my other concern via email, question I may have, but thank you. That's it, Mr. Mayor.
All right, no problem. So, my happy and a little annoyed, the text my gov, thank you for rolling it out. However, I didn't like how it was rolled out. And you know why. But we're here now, so let's see if we can get it to our residents so we can actually disseminate information effectively. And the other question is, all on the police. We have the 42 actual sworn officers. I know we budgeted for, I guess it's the question to chief or whoever. We budgeted to do a recruitment program. Is that into play? Because I see that you have 8 vacancies. And I know we put it.
Say that out loud.
Oh, it wasn't a negative. I wasn't trying. I just, it wasn't a negative. Madam Manager, we good? Okay.
Yes, sir.
So I just want to know, I know we budgeted for recruitment to hire non-sworn officers and put them through the academy. That way we constantly have a revolving door of officers coming to the city. And I think well, I did the legislation was 2 a year or something like that.
2 a year.
So are we moving on with that or?
We are, Mr. Mayor. We have Miami-Dade College. I met with the chief of public safety and the president of the police academy.
Okay.
He's a former chief of Miami Beach. And we have a meeting next week to review our Opa-locka recruiting out of the college. We also have one of our sergeants that's a instructor at the college.
Mhm.
So we're gleaming a lot of them out of there. And while there, people come there to try to go to the academy. So we're pulling prior to signing up for the academy, we pull them into Opa-locka to apply as non-sworn, as well as HR has I don't know if they already have it out, but a non-sworn job description out for non-sworn officers, accepting non-sworn officers.
All right, so once that does go live, let the commission know so that we can, promote it, because it's something that we haven't done in a long time.
Yes, sir. Yes, Mr. Mayor.
All right, so there's that. The other thing, a lot of residents are complaining as it relates to police department that police don't come to my neighborhood. So is there some kind of way that we can develop a program? I know in other cities, police have to have their lights on without the sirens, windows down, or something to show residents, because you all say that the police are there, but if we don't see them, then it never happened. So we need to develop something that shows that we are patrolling the streets.
So, Mr. Mayor, I can tell you that, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I can tell you that we do drive with our cruise lights on day and night. The windows down. I can't tell you for the fact because it was so hot. Now that it's wintertime, I'm sure the windows are down a lot more frequently than they were before. The manpower issue has us at a crust. So we're calling in officers to fill the gap, and our manpower issues are what they are. So we're trying to recover that and cover that effectively to ensure that we have enough officers on the street. That said, as a matter of fact, I just had a supervisor meeting the other day, and in that meeting, they were giving clear instructions what to do while in the city. And we will be in the area of 22nd Ave, the problem areas that we have with traffic at night, where in the industrial areas where we have an overabundance of burglaries and vehicle burglaries. So we will target those areas in the residences to make sure that the residents see us more frequently. Yes, sir.
And then eventually, Chief, a meeting coming or something, we need to speak to the Commissioner Williams' word, the uptick of gun violence in the city. I'm glad they did a presentation because I was going to ask you about that. And to talk about, you don't have to go into full detail, but we need to let our residents know if we're bringing programming and what are we doing to, gang intervention programs, things in the city to, let people curtail that.
We have our gun buyback
No, you
program.
don't have to do it now. Just in the future, we need to
Yes,
do a
sir.
presentation
Right.
with the manager, to everybody.
We'll take care of it, sir.
Yeah. And last but not least, and I was happy to see this, the new the Police Explorers van was delivered and will be wrapped. So I'm really
the wrap is
excited
beautiful.
to see that. You said it's beautiful?
The wrap is beautiful.
Oh, it's already here?
Well, we have it designed. Can I approach?
No, just text it to the manager.
I
Just
did.
get it out
I
to
did.
everybody.
I did.
All right, and last but not least, and procurement to purchase uniforms for the Police Explorers. I am so happy to see that. So
It's a challenge. These uniform vendors, we had to cancel 2. We fired 2, and we have a new one called Andy's. We're working with the city of Miami and their current procurement program to get our uniforms in. It's been a challenge, but we're making it happen.
No, I'm excited about that. And thank you, Chief.
Yes, sir.
I'm excited about that. And last, and then we can move on. I'm sorry, Chief. Commissioner Williams has I'm sorry, I didn't realize.
Did you
You had something? Oh, Chief, Commissioner Williams.
Oh, hi, Chief. How are you?
Ma'am.
While y'all are coming up, they're beating me to the punch. Quick question. I wanted to know why don't we have a rotating officer at the park when the children are practicing?
yet I see Opa-locka vehicles at every Miami Gardens park when their children are practicing.
Great question. Miami Gardens hires us on an off-duty basis. We work for them on off-duty. So we would bring officers in on overtime to work the games. We've never. I checked with Miss Ray and all of my other supervisors. We've never provided officers at the parks for practice. There's always been officers driving by. We currently have the city hall detail that is present in the area. Like he can view from the city hall what's happening, but to bring someone on staff on the field, it would be on an overtime basis. That's happening now. That ever since the last time I was communicated with, we have that in place.
So, and I guess that would be to Madam Manager, what do we need to do? Can you tell me why Miami Gardens does it, and why do you think, in your opinion, they have at every single park every day, from Bunch Park to Betty Ferguson, all over Opa-locka, right down to even the Walmart in Miami Gardens, Opa-locka police is there. What would be the benefit? Wouldn't there be a benefit of having an officer at the park when children are there?
100%. Like you asked me what my opinion is.
Correct.
And Miami Gardens Police Department, I believe, employs somewhere in the vicinity of 120 to 130 officers. They have a parks program and an off-duty officer that assigns officers from anywhere to ensure that their parks are covered. We have 43 and we have 3 parks, and we do the best that we can. As an off-duty program for the city to pay our officers off duty, that's something I have to look into. However, overtime is available at this time, and we are currently utilizing that overtime to man the parks.
And I'm only saying that because, Madam Manager, if you can please make sure that you look into that, because, and also maybe take a look at I'm so sorry, I don't mean to say take a look, I don't mean to direct you, but if we can, as a city, look at the structure and the system of what, and I'm saying our sister city, Miami Gardens, is doing. If we don't understand that process of having children, I know right on Lincoln, right off of Alabama, there was a shot spotter, and like, I don't know, it was 11 shots, literally 11, I think it was 11 shots. 20 shots, and teen upper bound is right there. So imagine if those kids were outside at that day. So the same thing can happen at one park, really, because the kids are at one park. And if shots from any random place, and I get what you're saying from the one officer that's, but we have to understand this process. And I feel like we've passed so much legislation increasing the police budget for various reasons, which I'm, 100% on board. But if we don't see the need or the necessity to protect children while they're at a park at all times, I find that to be a problem. And so, Ms. Lawson, if you can take a look at that process, and whatever the commission does, again, that's a budget amendment, I don't know. But we have to put that same energy in increasing. And also, I heard you mention attracting and recruiting from Miami-Dade College. What's the retention plan? Because I never hear the retention. And so, is there a plan for retention? Have you worked with the remember her name? HR director. No. The podium was right. The podium was in my.
I can't see where you're looking at.
The podium was in my way. I'm sorry. Because they're synonymous. Recruitment and retention. We're recruiting, and we're not. So I don't even want to ask where 8 officers went. I don't, that's just not a good thing. That's not a good sign, but what's the retention? And then are we questioning, and Madam HR Director, what's happening in that retention plan for, for these exits that's happening?
I have an exit interview with every one of the officers that left, and 2 went to Miramar, 1 went to Miami Gardens, 1 went to Palm Beach, and it has all been because of salary. Miami Palm Beach is paying $81,000 a year. Broward is 79, Miramar is 69. Miami Gardens, I think, is just at 58 or 59, pending a new contract. We're at 48.
And Madam HR Director was in on all those exiting interviews. She knows this.
No.
But
These.
So we gotta, like, there has to be some connection and dots here.
Yeah, I think a lot of this disconnect will change as we continue to develop our baseline of policy and procedures. I've enjoyed working with the police department. I find them very open to continuing to close all of those gaps. But I do think getting feedback from exit interviews, absolutely. It's interesting. I was just emailing my boss that just today, when Paul told me, Paul Bennett, Mary Adams, HR Director, was telling me that he had the fallout of PSAs, reserve officers. And I said, look, we're known, bring new officers in, 2 years later, they go to a larger organization. But we know the animal we're dealing with. Just feed that. So I told him just today to get with you on a retention program. And
Look at that.
and build in
look at
money
that. I'm
after
upset.
1 year, 2 year, 3 years.
I gotta be a genius. Look
We,
at that.
when we know about something,
Look at
we can always work together. It's when we
That's
don't.
what I'm
it's the
saying.
key.
Thank
No.
you, because it's the
Yeah.
connection of the dots. I always say I like to backwards plan, and when I don't see that vision and those
We have
connections.
so much talent in
Thank
our departments, not just HR and the police. And we talk to each other and help each other all of the time. But when we don't feel that we can, then people don't. But we're hoping for more and better, and our leader is on it.
Thank you so much, Madam HR Director.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Chief Otley.
Wait, before Chief Otley, Mr. Mayor.
Vice Mayor.
If I may, last year, and I got my Park family over there, last year was the first year that we had an officer at every game, and that was because he was reserved. Officer Donahue, is it possible that we can use a reserve officer? I mean, look at us, is it Cutler Bay or something just had that big shooting while the kids were at, we've been lucky we haven't had that issue, but can we get reserve maybe?
So we have 9 reserve officers. During the week for practice, they work. They all have full-time jobs.
Okay.
So Major Cooney, you want to come up and discuss this? Major Cooney is in charge of our reserve program.
Major Coney, Opa-locka Police Department. Yes, we have 9 reserves, and as the chief was saying, during the week, they have their own jobs. And for the weekends, we put out availability, and that's why Officer Donahue was so available, because his schedule allowed him to be here on the weekends. Some of our reserves also works midnight shift. So, and then also they work other agencies where they're not allowed to work only so many hours a day per their policy. So, it kind of, it kind of hurts the program a little bit, but we're working on building up the reserve program so that we'll have more availability for the parks. That's what we want. And the purpose of having officers at the park is because we had situations in Broward where there were shootings at the park. So we understand in protecting our youth
and coaches and the neighboring citizens of Opa-locka. So we're looking to build up the program to at least maybe about 20. That's the number. And I think at that number, we should be able to accommodate the city at that point.
Because we try to self-sustain as much as we can at the park, but we can't do the policing. Everything else, I think we kind of got, right, ladies? Yeah, the policing part, we can't do that one.
Okay.
But it would be nice, even on Saturdays. Luckily, we did have officers this Saturday, but
What I would suggest is that if we can have a schedule of every game on that part, so that we can start scheduling months in advance, because practices also, we know practice is going to be every day, but we know that the parks are really full on the weekends. But if we had schedules of what's going to be on that park on the weekends, that we can better assist the parks and rec.
Okay.
Thank you.
I think the manager is taking notes. But before you leave, Major Cooney, I just want to say, I like that. You
Right, right, exactly.
Thank
Just
you.
showing out.
Yeah,
Just showing out.
exactly.
Yes.
So, we don't have to go around this anymore. You're good?
Yes, and I'll work close with Chief to make sure that we have police visibility at the park
Okay.
during practice and games.
All right. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I don't know if anybody I got one more question as it relates to ARPA. We're done, so everything is. What happened?
You know, I yielded, yeah.
Oh,
Remember I yielded?
Well,
Commissioner Williams.
Commissioner Kelly got a question. Ask my question.
No, my question is really, the last one I was gonna ask was this one you're mentioning is the ARPA, because I wanted to make sure, and I know we've got some RFPs, I guess just came back in and whatever, where we are on that, because I know those are funds have to be encumbered by December 31st. So, and it may be in here, I haven't had a chance to look at the whole listing. So if you could just give us an updated version to all of us, that's really what I'm looking at. And I'm going back again and saying to the mayor, I guess, you know, you can speak to him if need be, that we got to have a special meeting to pass, to select the company vendor, because the whole idea is that encumbered, you know, to have it encumbered. So I'll defer to you there, Mr. Mayor, if that arises, especially with ARPA funds, because we don't want anything going back or losing an opportunity to utilize those funds for our community. So I'll leave that up to you. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions or concerns to the manager? All right, we're good. Official board reports. Do we have any here? No? All right. We're going to our future agenda items. Do we have any future agenda items? All right, so I have one. And that's what happened? Future agenda item to cancel the last meeting in November and the last meeting in December for the holidays. I think the last meeting in December is the Christmas, and the one in November is right before Thanksgiving. So, and then we can keep it open-ended just in case we have to actually have a special meeting. All right, so can I have a motion on that?
Move it.
Moved by Commissioner Williams. Second by Vice Mayor. Madam Clerk.
Vice Mayor Irvin,
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly.
Yes.
Commissioner Williams.
Yes.
Mayor Taylor.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
All right, we're going on to our mayor and commission report. We'll start right to left. Commissioner Kelly.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I have quite a bit. I mentioned a couple of them regarding utility billing with the high water bills. I wanted to try to find out, I know since you're just assumed the position, if hopefully by the next meeting or whenever you can, I'd like an update on what's happening with that with the county, any progress on addressing why these bills are high and why it's happening. and anything that the commission needs to do to address that or to work on that issue, because it's still an ongoing issue that we're having. Feeding South Florida Partnership, as we know, that was part of the feasibility studies, and I wasn't thrilled with the update because it did not really address the questions of a lot of them. And one of them dealt with the food program, where we had asked for a feasibility study on what it would cost, what it would look like if we were to do our own utilizing Eagle Park. What we got back was potentially partnering or trying to find a partner. I don't know where that is. I'm not really in favor of that. And so having said that, I'd like to look into, and you can work with the attorney and the clerk coming back with something for that partnership until you can do the study where we can identify. And again, that kind of ties in with our whole social service component, which I was hoping would be able to kind of be a part of it. But I'd like to at least keep it going until then, or we come up with a permanent solution, which I still think having our own pantry is doable, where we could just have that and we wouldn't probably need to even have 2 or 3 separate distributions. But until that, I'd like to work on that. So I know there was a cost agreement, and the clerk office should have that information because we did request it from Feeding South Florida. I know one of my Commissioner Williams was mentioning about the data. We have been collecting signatures, what have you. But one thing about Feeding South Florida, of course, is the healthy component, because a lot of healthy produce and things that are beneficial for our community, seniors, and even our employees, which take advantage. So we can look at that. I mentioned the FPNL power outages, so I won't go into that again. I think you kind of understand that. And the feasibility studies, again, what we received to me was not really up to date and on par. I know you got a lot to deal with, so I'll just ask that you look at that as you're moving forward, because some of them are tied to some of the things that waiting on the county response, et cetera. So I don't know whether there's updates on that, but as they come available, you can provide it to the commission. I would like for us to look at, again, Civil Service Board. I know that we had worked with the attorney a while back and kind of presented and need to go to HR director to kind of go over. I don't think that department has had a chance to look at it. So maybe between your office, Madam Manager, the attorney, and HR, y'all can look at that and bring it back to the commission however you recommend. And the homelessness initiative, because it came up in maybe Monday, and I know, Mr. Mayor, you so part of the social service initiative, but we have, and I'm a realist, we have a major, not just Opa-locka, all throughout the county, we have a major homelessness issue. And the answer is not to just put people in jail and not to just arrest people, but there's a major challenge with housing. Obviously, there's a mental health component to that. And I do want to commend, I don't know whatever the title is now, Sergeant Harborough, because he came to the Meet Me Monday meeting. Of course, it was a holiday, but I still held it. And that did come up. And he emphasized the fact that the police department's intent is not to just arrest people, try to find, if they could, resources, take them to somewhere that they can get help. I know many of them sometimes don't want to receive it. And so what I'm really looking at, Mr. Mayor, is part of your initiative, and I know you're looking at it in phases, and even Commissioner Williams is having a fair on Tuesday that's going to have some resources there. So I'm hoping at some point we can tie all that together as part of our social service component and have a homelessness part of that. And again, I'm working on some things as well that I hope to tie into that, because we do know that there's some housing issues of not having a place to stay and different things as a part of that. But I would hope, as we're working towards that and as part of the social service component, that we keep that in mind, because it's still a major challenge But I do like the fact that we're not just out to try to put folks in jail. We are trying to work with them to find them housing, help, resources to get them where they need to be. But we can't have them also, main thoroughfares and places where they shouldn't be in the first place. And I know that's a challenge because all of us, and it even came up maybe Monday, some of the residents, take food to some of the folks because they know they're hungry. So it's not an easy solution. So I look forward, Mr. Mayor, however you're going to be working on the social service program, that would be part of the package, I guess. And so that's why I had it under my report. So Madam Manager, I know that's a lot, but you can get back with me updates to us because some of them deal with some of the things that some of my colleagues have been asking for too as part of feasibility studies. So that's all I have under my report, Mr. Mayor, other than the fact that we did have our monthly farm share distribution, although we didn't meet that first one. We did have it. We did not have the one for the 20th because I know they're still doing work at Siegel Park and it's kind of torn up. So we can get an update on that as well, where they are with the progress of that. And also I did get a chance to attend the homecoming game and festivities, and the mayor and Commissioner Williams did not let me sit on the back of the of the car, but it was nice. I was glad to see the young people there, parents. It was a wonderful time. So I want to commend Parks and Rec for that. And also one other thing that I wanted to mention, we did, as I say, have the meet me Monday, and Madam Manager, I will submit the things to you that came out of the meeting, the concerns. I've been doing it for a while now, but I hadn't submitted, but I will submit those to you, those concerns that the residents had. That's all I have under my report, Mr. Mayor. I don't know if it will be, because I know we might have a special one, but I want to definitely give a shout out, a large measure of respect to my colleague down in the end, Commissioner Williams, who has served admirably and served this community well. And so if we do not have another one in a official capacity, I know she's going to have some things happening before the election or whenever it's certified, but I want to take the opportunity to thank you for your service and what you've done. And I know you're going to still be a part of the community as we go forward, but hats off to you for availing yourself for public service. She's a park mom. Okay, well, if that's the case, I'll see you for the next 10 years. But I do want to thank you and commend you for your service and going forward. I know you'll still be a part of the city. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
No problem. Commissioner Kelly, Vice Mayor.
I'm trying to do this real fast because I'm tired. Okay. The park's Halloween haunted house is scheduled for Halloween night. I think it's 6 or 7. 6, and the haunted house opened up when the sun goes down. Our homecoming parade was really nice. I would like to thank Sergeant Harborough and Officer Bourne for escorting us through 27th Avenue, Scheherazade, and up Purvis without a hitch, no hiccups, no nothing. The 2 of them alone did a heck of a job. Thank you so much. The Booster Club, the parents, volunteers, park staff, the parents, the kids, homecoming was phenomenal. You never know what Miss Carolyn gonna pull out her hat. We had robots or something this year. Yes. And we're just one big family over there in Parks and Rec. Thank you so much. We did announce the winner of the TV on Facebook. It was not, it was done legally. The DJ actually pulled out the ticket, and the winner of the 65-inch television was none other than Dakari's Griffin's mother. Yeah. Thank you to the clerk's office for our beautiful breast cancer gifts. Yes. Thank you so much. And bingo. Oh, it's right there. Bingo is Friday at 6. We have surprises for those that dress up in bingo. Special stuff for them. So I mean, dress up in Halloween. I'm sorry. Wear your Halloween costumes. We have something special planned for you. And yesterday I started thinking about breast cancer, and my dear friend came to mind because Commissioner Burke would have on a pink suit that would send you with a matching hat. And I just thought about him. So I was like, the closest to Mr. Burke would be Mr. Austin over there. He's just a little dull. Burke would have the brightest pink on. Yes, he would. He would. A little more serious note. Being a resident of Opa-locka from a child and as an adult, the very first commission meeting I ever attended in the city of Opa-locka, I was actually asked by Commissioner Kelly to go with his wife to a meeting because it was going to be a hot topic. And he said he knew if anything went wrong, his wife would listen to me. Well, I want y'all to know that we both left there mad that night, she and I. And I've been coming to commission meetings ever since. And I've been noticing over the years, like people would come and do things that are not right in our city. And it would be like, it's okay. Like you can go and you can do this Opa-locka, they're not going to do anything. But under my watch, I really hope to make make a change in that. Because if you come here and you do something, especially if it's not legal or right, I'm coming for you. It could be my mama. I don't care. Simple. And with that being said, I have been receiving calls from everywhere telling me different things to look for, to look out for. So with that in mind, I'm going to be asking, I know you got a lot of work that you're doing, but we have this credit card. I need to get the statement from the card that our previous manager used. I would like to get those statements from his card. And also any checks that were made payable to him outside of his paycheck. And one more thing, I know Commissioner Kelly asked for it one time before, but I feel the need to ask for it again. That $25,000 leeway that doesn't have to come through here. If we can get a report of what expenditures or what charges or whatever was made from that, maybe you can give it to, do everybody want it? Or just me? The reports that I'm asking him. You can give it to everybody.
So I've already spoke to budget, and moving forward, the elected officials will be receiving monthly financials.
Great. Thank you. And I'm here to support you in any way necessary. I'm just a phone call away. I can walk here if need be. It's not that far. And I know that we can make our city what it was, what it needs to be if we work together to make it happen. Because what I experienced in my city in 2015, I never want to see that happen again. And we were almost there. We were almost there. And I don't want to see that happen to us. So we're here to help you. If you need additional help, talk to us, communicate with us, and we could do whatever in our power to make it happen. Because we got to get our city going in a very positive way. Thank you. That's it.
All right. Commissioner Williams? Okay, I can go. Commissioner Williams said, why I can't go. Because I'm the I'll go. I don't mind. So we already would do the financial oversight of the city. So between the our managers as well as our finance director, I trust that you all are working to get us out of financial oversight as soon as possible. This weekend, myself and Commissioner Williams have partnered with the Top Teams of America to present, as long as with our police department and our explorers, Cones with the Cop. It's a teen summit. It's a panel discussion talking about domestic violence and teen dating. So that's something that we're going to start here in the city of Opa-locka. So we ask all of you that have children, teenagers, to bring them out. Our chief is sitting on that panel as well and helping with that conversation. Our explorers will be there, and Commissioner Williams and we'll all be there together. So that's this Saturday at 11 a.m. at Shabundi Village. Also, Vice Mayor talked about the what was Saturday? Homecoming. And I had to wait 1 hour for a conch fritter, but it's okay. And I'm still waiting on my second conch fritter because I ordered 2, but I only got 1. But we'll talk about Miss Carolyn. We'll talk about that later. But I want to say let's keep Mr. Austin's family in prayer for the loss I've heard of your brother. So we want to make sure that we keep your family lifted up in prayer. And Commissioner Kelly already stated it, but Commissioner Williams, we want to say job well done. You will be missed. All of the words that you taught us uptick once you gave me pause. So you will be missed. So thank you for your years of service to this commission. Like myself, Commissioner Kelly, you served in every capacity in the city, from vice mayor to mayor and commissioner. So we shout out to you, job. Yeah, I mean, job well done. And we know you're not going far. Like Commissioner, Vice Mayor said that you were drafted to be a Parks mom. So I know Miss Chris and Miss Carolyn are happy to have more on their staff. And Miss Carolyn, thank you for letting me take the picture with the robot, the Transformers. So we thank you for that. And we want to say welcome. I was gonna say welcome to the team, but you were already here, so welcome. And like Vice Mayor said, whatever you need from us, whatever we can do to make your transition smooth, we are here for you. Commissioner Williams, you got the last word tonight. Go ahead.
I don't have a speech. So I have some talking notes. I don't have a speech, but thank you all so much. If this is the last commission, I don't know, but I don't know. I probably have been the only person to do all 3, be in all 3 seats in one term. In one term. So it's been a thrill. It's been a joyride, and I won't give any speeches, but I will continue to be a part of Opa-locka, and you never know, in 2 years, I'll drop that. Anyway, no, I'm just
She'll be back.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just, being me, just being me. But I want to say being a park mom has been the most thrilling experience this year. It's such a family. It's a family. And I welcome everyone to just, even if you don't have to, just come to a game. Come to a game. You are going to, I was at Shabundi and all around the town from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. and would have been longer had I not threatened Jalen to leave. And thank you, Miss Chris, who continues to step in the gap for Jalen and says he wants to stay.
He wants to stay.
But seriously, to everyone that really just, it's a village. And thank you. And I want to say I would never been in the park if it really wasn't for Miss Chris, who kept harassing me over and over. And I'm just saying that because I know 4 years ago, we weren't there. And look how God makes that transition, right? So I just want to thank everyone for just being the village. Miss Ray, your staff, shout out. Shout out to your staff. That was the best grass cutting. That grass was pristine. I didn't get bit by one red ant. Thank you, Miss Lawson, for listening to my cries. Because no, that's serious. Like we get bit all the time. So thank you, Miss Lawson, for stepping in and making everything just wonderful. And I know we'll see you in the parks. I know we will. So just a few things. I talked about homecoming. Just absolutely thank you. Amazing. And thank you to everyone. There's so many unsung heroes that touch our youth every day that I didn't name, but thank you. And 9U, we coming next year. Not, I don't know, we somewhere between 8, 9, and 10, but watch. Okay. We're gonna have robots too. This October 29th, I have a community resource fair from Tuesday from 12 to 4. And just a few talking points, the sealing and expungement of records. For the first time, the Miami-Dade Clerk of Courts will be here in the first time in the city of Opa-locka to help our residents with license issues, infractions, and anything you need from the Clerk of Courts. Also, thank you for the CRA. They will be there assisting with small business grants. And the Community Development Agency will be there to assist with those applications. We will have a health and wellness clinic set up so you can get your free checkup. And we will have a Medicare and Medicaid representative there as well. So it is going to be a non-stop shop of resources. So you have a lot of hours. It's open. Come, bring, I call it from the cradle to the grave. Really, that's what we should be doing all the time in our city. And again, the mayor talked about our top teams this summit this Saturday. So everyone is welcome. And again, thank you all. It's been a beautiful ride. Thank you.
All right.
Mr. Mayor,
Madam Attorney,
just very briefly.
you want to spoil the party?
Briefly, I'm gonna join the party.
Miss Carolyn, Miss Krista moved to adjourn this meeting like 5 times.
I know. I just feel that I have to say on
This
behalf of
close.
on behalf of the city attorney's office, we will miss you and we thank you for your service. And you've always asked the right questions and you've worked with us in a very professional way, and we appreciate your service. Thank you, Commissioner Williams.
Okay. All right. She says she's coming back at 26. I don't know why y'all clapping. Y'all know she's running again. Like, as we move on, do we have any official board appointments? Hearing none. Y'all ready? Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Get a motion.
Commissioner Williams has to move the motion. This is
Oh, yeah, this is your meeting. Go ahead.
she got to move to adjourn this meeting.
I'm gonna pass the gavel.
Yes.
I've been here before. Can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Move it.
The meeting has been adjourned. Thank you. Have a blessed evening.
Thank you.